Oh, all right. Thank you so much. Oh, really, you shouldn't do it. Hey, all right. All right, we're glad you're here today. I'm whistling a little loud. Okay, good. Thank you very much. We're going to be here till about 4 o'clock. And I talk really fast, so you've got to listen really fast. Who can do that? Okay? I got 108 slides today, and each one of them is pretty meaningful. So I'm going to go through several different parts today. And one of the things you can notice is we're filming. We're having a DVD made of this today. So for the people who aren't here, you have a DVD. You can be part of this training. And it's also part of our molecular hydration training class. I'm a molecular hydration specialist, and that means we help reverse degenerative disease. And those are all the things that your body, when they start going bad, they keep getting worse. Cancer, fibromyalgia, lupus, diabetes, GERD, gout. The list is endless. And so today, we're going to be talking about studies, clinical studies, that when everybody here gets excited, they drink the water, something good happens to them, and then suddenly they run out and they say, I'm going to tell my doctor about this. How many people have done that? And the first thing the doctor says is, talk to the hand, right? Who's had that? Talk to the hand. So I'm going to take you through, I've got 35 clinical studies. I'm going to cover about 12 of them, but I'm going to touch a lot faster. And then also, if you take a look in your handout packages, you guys all see your handout packages? Oh, Galen, I didn't get a handout package. Have you got one for me? Here we go. Hey, thanks, Jeff.
Good to see you, sir.
There we go. Okay. On your handout package, I've got, it starts with this section right here. It's I think there's 15 pages right here of the studies. So don't read those now, but take them home with you so you can use them later. And then also on the handout package, it should be the page, 2 pages in front of that, where it says Molecular Hydration Specialist Training School. I've got a website address on there. And you see that it says heartspring.net water/clinicalstudies.html. Now some of these studies that you have are in this other study, but there's 35 more pages of studies if you go to this website. I didn't feel like printing out everybody 35 pages, you know. That'd be like, what, 6 cases of paper or something like that. So I figured I'd give you guys the website so you can go print it out yourself. But I'm going to teach you how to use these studies today. And I'm also going to talk about who's against us. And you're going to see there's an absolute 100% organized effort to put us out of business. And not just us. We're just part of an industry. And I'm going to show you who the bad guys are. And interestingly enough, when I printed out, where did they go? Here they are. Now this is the Hot Springs printouts. This is the 35 pages of all these different things. And this goes through 35 pages of doctors' studies from Switzerland to Japan to Korea to Taiwan, all around the world. And you're going to see it's conspicuously missing United States. Whoa. Why could that be? Who runs the United States medical place? FDA. Do you think the FDA wants us to have testimonials? No. Because see, this is our presentation. I get up and do a presentation, and we filmed the presentation. It's called Product Business and Overview. And we used to have about 40 different testimonials. So people who stood up here on stage and said, I drank the water, this is what happened to me. I drank the water, this is what happened to me. We weren't making these up. These were people that had the real stories and we just marched them across and we filmed them all. The FDA came to our company and said, take those off. We said, but they're true. We said, we don't care. So I'm going to tell you, you're going to learn today what you need to know to defend this water, even with clinical studies. And then also, what I want to show you is at the very end of this 35-page article, there's blogs that people go through. Where's my blog? I don't see it here. Here it is. At the end of those studies, they have blogs, and the first person that's the blog, the very first blog, well, let me read the second blog. The second blog is, my wife has been fighting breast cancer since 1995, and I can't finish the story today, okay? But here's one about someone with cancer. Here's one, I've been drinking this water. My last checkup was blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you can read these for yourself. So all these people are going through and saying, I drank this water and this happened to me. I drank this water, this happened to me. Okay? But that's third, fourth, and fifth. The very first one that comes up after you read these studies, it says, ionized water is a scam. Who's seen that on the internet? Are you surprised that the first person after all these studies, the first response is it's a scam? And number one, not number 10, but number one. Okay? Our bodies are self-regulated, blah, 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 blah. It tells you why this water doesn't work. So today we're going to go through and I'm going to give you some definitions. I'm going to tell you the people who are organizing the effort to undo our work, because you have to know who the enemy is before you can defeat him. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. And then we're going to go through, I want to go through a general classification of the studies. Then I'm going to get specific with like 15 of them. And then we're going to give you, what do you say to your doctor? You have a script. What do you say to your doctor? So that when they say, well, I want to see some double-blind studies, instead of saying, well, I don't know, you now know. Okay, so that's the purpose of today. Also, I'm going to get rid of the infomercial stuff. This is the product overview tape. If you don't know how to explain what the water does, if you want to know what happens inside your body, we take the biological approach. I let you know what happens inside your body. If you don't know what your pancreas is doing, you don't know how this water works. Because the ORP, the negative ORP, that's putting electrons in your body. And so I go through the biological functions, the digestive system, and what this water does in your body, people that drink it, people that don't drink it. How come some get degenerative disease? How come some don't? How come some get cancer and some don't? Everybody here has cancer cells. Do you know that? Everybody here right now has cancer cells in their body, but only the people whose voltage drops to a positive 30 turns on the cancer cells. To turn it off, you got to go to a negative 50. Now, I just got my nose cut off about 2 months ago, surfing, completely gone. Cut my nose off, gone, no nose. It wasn't fun. I swam in holding my nose in my hand, and 2 hours later, they had plastic surgery. They had to rebuild all my cartilage in my nose. They sewed the nose back on, and the doctor said it's going to be 6 months before I can actually go out of the house with my swollen face and black and blue eyes. In 2.5 weeks, because my body's full of electrons, my face was healed. It was done. My swelling was gone, black and blue eyes were gone, and unless you knew my nose was cut off, you can't tell I have stitches. But up close you can. And it's not still 100%. Once in a while, like every 2 or 3 days, I'll get this searing pain in my nose where the nerve endings are connecting back together again. But I can feel it 99% of the time. Most of it's all working good. He works just fine. So, and last training, I actually sewed slides of my nose chopped off, and the crowd did the thing. So that's okay. That wasn't a good idea. So, and my wife sat through the whole surgery just petting my arm the whole time. You know, it's like, and it was just pretty fantastic. Yay. Okay. Thanks, you guys. Okay. So this is a legal notice. This water doesn't heal anything. The FDA, this is not medicine. You know this is not medicine, right? You know it's not medicine. Medicines are for specific things. This water is for your body. Your body runs on electrons. Your body is 70% water. So we're going to get talking today generally in the general lesson here of where do we start? Clinical studies and research in alkaline water, scientific evidence regarding the approach methods used. Now, these are different institutions in Japan that have been set up that study the water, and we'll talk about double blind. Now, when you talk about doing a double blind, that means the patients and the doctor don't know which patients have which. So both are doubly blind. So because if the doctor knew which patients had one thing and who had the other, he could fix it so that these got a better result. But when it's double blind, that means the outside experimenters know, but the people, the doctors administering the test, they don't have a clue. So they think everybody's getting the same thing, or they don't know who's getting what. So that keeps it very objective so that you're not trying to skew it one way or the other so that one guy has something, I told you it was going to work. No one knows how it's going to turn out. So that's what makes these things so good, okay? Now, I'm going to go through these first ones pretty quickly here. Volunteer selected for treatment with diagnosed identified disorders or subjects in a double blind, placebo-controlled clinical trial. So placebo means I have something that looks like, smells like, tastes like the real thing, but it's not the real thing. And sometimes people get better taking a placebo. Do you know that? Yep. Just the idea that you're taking something that's supposed to make you better can make you better, because Don't forget, our bodies, every single cell, all 80 trillion cells in our body, are all connected to all other 80 trillion cells. Every cell communicates wirelessly with every other cell all the time. That's a huge infrastructure. That takes a lot of power. Imagine doing that with a computer. Every cell had to talk wirelessly to each other's cell instantaneously. And the reason we have to have that ability is if, just let's be a caveman for a while. I'm a caveman running through the jungle, and suddenly a saber-toothed tiger jumps out to kill me. If I had to rely on my eyes seeing the tiger, and then go into my brain says, hey, there's a tiger, that's not good. Muscles, sends a signal down my nerve endings to my muscles, run, get going. I'd be dead. I'd be saber-toothed tiger food. You have to react quicker. Oh, danger. So your cells have to be in communication all the time, and that takes electricity, and that voltage has to be between minus 20 and 25 millivolts, which is a negative electrical charge, which is what this water gives us. This water is pouring negative electrons in your body, and in the tune, depending on the city you're in, someplace between minus 200 to minus 850, okay? So the higher the negative charge, it's like sticking your fingers in a socket. Not really, but I can't get sick because my body, I'm voltage boy. I'm walking around with so much energy in my body that my immune system, it has enough energy to run my immune system, run my brain, run my heart, because everything's electrical, right? EKGs, beep, beep, beep. So you have to have that power to keep regenerating your body, because every night when you go to sleep, your body's making 500 million new cells. You all know that? That's a pretty busy person at night. When you're sleeping, you think you're resting. Your body's busy making 500 million new cells. And by the way, it's making those new cells out of whatever you're eating. So if you're eating junk, it's making 500 million junky cells. If you're eating good stuff, it's making 500 million good cells. So the idea is you want to make sure you have plenty of water, the right water, plenty of good nutrition, and of course you need to exercise at least 2.5 hours a week, minimum, okay? So those are just the ABCs of getting started. So let's talk about these studies. Volunteers are all in the identified control group, and references for research. Now here we have Water Research Council, Medical Society for Functional Water, Japan Society for Oral Function Water, Kansai Water Research Council, Strong Electrolyzed Water Association. You never knew there were so many companies that talked about water, did you? These guys all study water. Hey, Pierre, good to see you. And then Alkalized Ionized Water Review Committee, Association of Alkaline Ionized Water Apparatus, Collaborative Research. So you can see all these different schools. Now, the Kyoto School of Medicine has done a lot of studies, and I'm going to refer to them later on. University and School of Engineering, SIGHA, same thing, Kyoto and SIGHA, a lot of studies there, the Prefecture University, plus over 50 separate medical and alternative websites have contributed to these studies, all right? Now, Future Foundation Wellness Group, Clinical Studies and Science Resource Guide. Here's a short list of scientific studies and articles. And just so you know that the science that made Kangen water possible began in 1850s, which is a long time ago. So this has been around for a long time before people knew what to do with it. And over the past 50 years, most of it's been carried out in Asia, where prevalent medicine has long been valued as a superior approach to Western medicine. So here, preventative medicine. In the East, they have their whole structure designed around don't get sick. And in fact, every single month, if you're in Japan, all the healthy people every month, when they write their insurance premium, they only write their payments once a month if they're healthy. If they're sick, they don't have to pay anything. Who thinks that's a pretty good idea? Yeah. When you're sick, you go to the hospital, do the doctor, he fixes you all the way he can, but you don't pay the doctor until you're well. When you get well, you start paying again. Who thinks we could solve our healthcare crisis in this country if we had adopted that right now? What if the doctors didn't get paid if you were sick? What if they didn't get paid if you were sick? They'd freak, wouldn't they? What would we need them for? Because their goal, if they got paid, was to keep us healthy. That's why the Japanese outlive everybody. And I've got a slide here I think I'm going to show you here. Now, skeptical people may doubt the validity of the 50 years plus of science research that supports drinking Kangen water. I've got a list of what skeptical people believe, okay? Did I send it to you? Did anybody guys get it? No, okay. Did I bring it today? I wanted to read it. Let's see. I didn't. But skeptical people believe that all vaccines are good for you, okay? Skeptical people believe that any water is the same as all water. Okay? Skeptical people believe you can eat anything you want. Skeptical people think you can take diets to make your body healthy instead of exercise. There's a whole bunch of stuff that skeptical people believe, and one of them is they don't believe this water works. Okay? So fine, we're not here to make sure that everybody who doesn't believe it, believe it. We're here to show the people who've had remarkable healing with their body. Raise your hand if you've had something fantastic happen to your body with this water. Okay? Now, who's making you do this? Anybody? Nobody? Everybody here spent money to get this water? Okay? So, did somebody give you free water before you spent your machine? Spent money? Raise your hand. Okay? So everybody here had free trials before they spent money. Free to make sure it worked. Who thinks that's a pretty good plan? I'll give it to you free in case I'm crazy. If it doesn't work, if I'm making it up, then tell me I'm crazy. But if it works, this is the most fantastic thing you've ever seen, because this will work against toxins, and I'll show you with some medical studies here. Okay? Now, quackbusters, you've got to know who these people are. Who are these so-called quackbusters? There's websites that called quackbusters that say, these people are crazy. I'm a scientist, I'm a genius, I'm a rocket scientist, I know this, I'm a chemist professor, and everything these people are saying is wrong. And so it's called quackbusters. Americans have known or suspected for some time there's been an organized assault by a group against companies and practitioners offering alternatives to the drug surgery paradigm. That group calls itself quackbusters, and they are a deliberate, well-funded scam. This is not an accident. It's not one angry guy in a room blogging, okay? The quackbuster conspiracy was started shortly after the American Medical Association lost the court battle to the chiropractors in a case begun in federal court in 1976. Now, you guys remember, you may not, for years, chiropractors were not considered doctors. The doctors would look at chiropractors and go, they're bone crackers. They're not doctors. They're not MDs. They're not real doctors, okay? And so they had this conspiracy going on that chiropractors weren't really medical people, and what they were doing was like voodoo. Just like acupuncture, acupressure, okay? Like yin and yang, like herbs and spices, okay? Like meditation. Those are all considered voodoo to the AMA, and chiropractors are doing the same thing. Well, the chiropractors sued the AMA, and they won. They won. And the AMA didn't know what to do. They were freaked. We can't lose. We're the AMA. We control medicine. We control your thoughts. We can't lose, but they lost. So the federal judge ordered the AMA covert operation to shut down and leave the chiropractors alone. The AMA files, library, etc., ended up in a Dr. Stephen Barrett's 1,800 square foot basement in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Barrett and his minions had the common sense to stay away from criticizing chiropractors for quite some time. Barrett has since abandoned that common sense. Okay? Now here, that's this guy, he's got all these books. Now, alternative health medicine, man, you got to understand what's going on here, because you're part of the good guy side and you're being painted as a bad guy. So Americans have been going toward what are called alternatives in health and medicine in a big way. More than half of the U.S. health dollar is currently being spent on this phenomenon. More than half of the U.S. health dollar is going away from the AMA and towards alternative medicine. With new billing codes, ABC codes, going into effect, allowing insurance and Medicare to pay for alternative therapies, that percentage will no doubt increase dramatically. In California, the 5th largest standalone economy in the world, the health freedom movement is much larger than anywhere else. California would rather be healthy than medicated. Sometimes I doubt that, but that's what the statement is here. 3 things seriously alarmed conventional medicine and spurred them to action. The first alarm was reports showing that medical care in this country is so bad that doctors and hospitals were listed as the 3rd largest cause of unnecessary death. What was the cause of death? I went to the hospital, the doctor. Now, that was then. This is now. Since then, they've moved into number 1. Number 1 spot of death in this country is doctors and hospitals. Not because you're sick, because of misdiagnosis, doing the wrong thing. They're practicing medicine on you. They're practicing medicine. You understand that? Yes.
They just had a thing on the TV this morning. They had an advertisement saying, do not go to hospitals if you're sick, and make sure that you clean your hands with disinfectant before you get there and after you leave.
Did you hear what he said? So, and the reason why is because the best chance you have of catching MRSA, you know what that is, the flesh-eating bacteria, is in a hospital. It's living on the carpet in the hallways, and they don't know how to get rid of it. We can't figure this out. Of course, everybody that we know that has MRSA, it's gone because we're putting the 2,5 on their skin, and this water sucks the oxygen out of the bacteria, and I can't say that, but somehow they get well. Okay, now. So number one is the doctors in the hospital. So that's a real serious thing, okay? If doctors were carrying guns and shooting people at the highest rate of any other disease or car accidents, you would think they'd go to jail, don't you think? But they're not doing that. They're doing it in a different way under the name of MD, which means mere deity. I know everything, okay? Now, I'm not saying these are bad people. I'm not saying these aren't sinister people out trying to kill us. They're not doing that. They're trying to save lives within a certain boundary. They've got rules they have to live within, okay? And those rules are pretty restrictive. Oops. Now, Americans have been finding out that the average MD these days beyond the emergency room has little to offer. Now, the word beyond the emergency room is a true statement. If I'm in an accident, I want it to be in America rather than anything else, okay? That's why I still have my nose, I believe, okay? If I was in Indonesia someplace, I'm not sure I might have it, but it might be over here, okay? It'd be, hey, we found your nose and stuck it on you. Now, so emergency surgery is pretty great. Beyond the emergency room has little to offer beyond magic bullet, meaning the new drugs pushed this week by the drug company salesman. There are more people pushing drugs in the clinics than there are patients. Everybody who's in a suit, that's a drug salesman. And they come in, they wait in line. And in fact, if you have an appointment, they get to walk right in front of you and start selling drugs. Who's seen that happen? Okay. By the way, how many doctors do we have in the office today? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we always have doctors here, so I just don't want you to think I'm bashing people because I love Dr. Dave. And so went to Costa Rica together. We had the greatest time, man, just surfing. It was so great. If you want a fun guy, man, he's the person to hang out with. Okay. Now, the second thing was that in 1993, the New England Journal of Medicine showed that the huge financial impact of alternative medicine on the U.S. healthcare dollar. The third was the Clinton administration's identification of health fraud as a major cause of healthcare's rising cost, okay? And the announcement of Attorney General Janet Reno plans to deal with that issue strongly. So we got three things that started to happen all of a sudden that woke up the AMA. On the cover of Time magazine, it says, "The sorry state of American health." Now, when it hits the cover of Time, it's way past a problem. This is in the duh category, okay? So here it says, "Despite advances in medicine, Americans are less healthy than we used to be, and the next generation may even be worse off." How many people were here at my training last month? Okay, 3 of us. I showed a picture in 2005 of how many people in the United States, state by state, were obese, which means more than 51% were obese. I mean, really heavy. In 2005, there was one state. It was Mississippi. By 2010, okay, 6 years later, 13 states, the whole southern territory, were now more than 51% obese. Okay? By the year 2025, our whole nation will be full of diabetes and cancer and obese people because we're doing everything we can to get sick as fast as possible. And it's being done by the TV commercials telling you that Cocoa Puffs are good for your immune system with the FDA's approval. There's nothing in Cocoa Puffs that's good for your immune system except the box. You can eat the box, maybe. And the same thing with heart healthy Cheerios. It's not heart healthy. Those are refined carbohydrates that turns into sugar in your body, just like taking a shot without the buzz, okay? Or maybe you get a sugar buzz, I'm not sure. But, so here, we're getting worse, and when big world America recognizes it, something has to happen here. Now, this is the top 40 countries' life expectancy. At the top of the list, the Japanese. They outlive everybody. Japan, #1. United States, number 38. We're below Cuba, but we're above Slovenia. Does that seem wrong? Okay? So we're doing something clearly wrong. And in fact, I put this together, this map, about 4 years ago. We're now number 49 in the top 40. So we're not even on the top 40 now. So we're going backwards rapidly. All right? Now, medical errors remain a leading cause of death. Medical errors remain a leading cause of death and injury at hospitals nationwide. And the effort to improve patient safety in the facilities is too slow and should be a cause for great alarm, according to a study released by HealthGrad's Syracuse Post. For the study, researchers examined the records of Medicare beneficiaries, treated about 5,000 hospitals nationwide between 2002 and 2004, this is a little old, and used 13 patient safety indicators developed by the federal government to evaluate administration. And it's getting worse every single year. It's dramatically worse. And now with healthcare, the healthcare bill that we have before us, the whole idea is, we'll let the government pay for this. There's not enough money in the world to solve the healthcare crisis. It can't be done. Medicines don't get you well. Your body heals itself. It's called an immune system. It's called nutrition. That's what makes everything work. And the more drugs you take, the more backwards you're going to go. Okay? Now, the study finds that about 1.24 million, this is old now, million patients, safety incidents occurred between 2002 and 2004, compared with 1.4 million between 2002 and 2002 at a cost of 9.3 billion. So you see, that's like a daily drop in the bucket today. According to the study, failure to save the lives of patients who develop complications, bloodstream infections, and bed sores accounted for almost 63% of the patient safety incidents. Bed sores. People are dying from bed sores. That's a real good cause of death, don't you think? Died of bed sores. I'll put that in my tomb. 82% of those deaths likely were preventable, according to the study. Malignant tumor disease and exacerbation of chronic cardiovascular disease were the most frequent cause of death in the hospital, 33.2%. So you can see it's pretty huge. The second of the three alarms seriously spurred conventional mainstream medicine into action. Now this is that one in 1993. The report came out and said that alternative medicine's taking the money. Watch what they did. Here we go. Come on, turn. In 1993, this report had to be a shock. It showed that the Americans are no longer doing this Marcus Welby, Ben Casey doctor. Anybody remember Marcus Welby and Ben Casey? So anybody probably over 50? For all of you who are not, that was this TV show where they had this happy grandpa kind of a guy, and he would drive around and he'd go to your house, and little Molly wasn't feeling good, and he'd give her a little pill and give her a sucker. And everybody was raised in America thinking that's American medical care. And then Ben Casey was the same kind of a guy, but these are old TV shows that are long gone. But in 1993, the light dropped that that's not the way it's really going anymore. And so the Ask Your Doctor program was flat out dying. This JAMA, which happens to stand for the Journal of American Medical Association, report suggested the more visits were being made to unconventional practitioners in 1990 than to conventional. 488 million unconventional visits compared to 388 million to primary care. That's a million, that's another 100 million more. That's a lot of people, don't you think? That's a lot of people. Different. $13.7 billion was spent on unconventional practices as $12.8 billion for hospitalization. So the guys who were sick in medicine are starting, our side was starting to win. The my body can heal itself people. Now, here's Janet Reno. In 1995, Janet Reno, the then Attorney General, under the direction of President Clinton, came out with a program identifying health fraud as a major problem in the U.S. healthcare system. That's true. Healthcare fraud was running rampant. Fake bills, fake everything was going crazy. And so they said, let's go get healthcare fraud and stop this. Good cause. In response, the mainstream media went into orbit, trying to deflect her attack to no avail. Janet was teaching seniors how to read their medical bills and turn their doctors into the feds. The meds were in trouble with the feds. That was the big comment then. So mainstream, rather than fix their own house, had to come up with a plan to counter these two assaults on their dollar intake, and they did. Here's what they did. It's a 4-part campaign. In '96, the mainstream launched their counterattack. It was a 4-part disinformation public relations campaign designed to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And here's what they've done. And here they put the plan. They wanted Janet Reno and the American public off their backs, and they wanted to get rid of their upstart competitor, alternative medicine. Seems like a good plan, doesn't it? Get rid of both at the same time. So they came up with a simple, redefine the term health fraud with a massive disinformation campaign. The intent was to redefine the words away from Reno's definition of overbilling, false coding, MD kickbacks, to a different focus, alternative medicine. We're going to turn health fraud, instead of being into crooks, into, we're going to redefine it as alternative medicine. What a plan. Now this wasn't by mistake. There's over 700 AMA medical boards that are on this board that make this happen. Okay, so this is something they're all keenly aware of. Let me get out of your way because I've been blocking you guys long enough. I'll block you guys for a while. Now, enter this quackbusters. Janet Reno in her original plan had expected cooperation from the state medical boards. She expected the boards to prosecute billing cheaters. That seems normal, doesn't it? There's cheaters, take care of them. Take them to the woodshed. She never got that cooperation. We're not talking. The alternative medicine is now called health fraud. In Chicago in 1996, at the Federation of States Medical Boards annual meeting, a major program was presented. It was supposedly on health fraud and how to combat it. Conspicuously, there were no speakers from Janet Reno's team. We're having a meeting and you're not invited. Only once in the program was the Fed's definition health fraud ever mentioned. Nowhere in the program was there a discussion of how to prosecute doctors who overbilled, false coded, took kickbacks. All they talked about was alternative medicine and how to prosecute it, calling it health fraud. Here's how we prosecute health fraud. Did you know that in this current administration we've lost 2/3 of all of our alternative practitioners? They've been wiped out. Over 2/3 of all the vitamin companies have been put out of business. No court, just done. They're trying to move it all into pharmaceuticals. So all the pharmaceuticals, in fact, naturopaths now, there's a current bill demanding all naturopaths go to one school, which is endorsed by the AMA, before they can be called naturopaths, which means they're going to wipe out most of the naturopaths. That's in effect right now. That's going on right now while we're speaking. Okay? I'm not thrilled about it at all. So they're defining alternative medicine, which, by the way, Kangen water is alternative medicine. You know that? We're not covered by the healthcare code, so we're part of the fraud that they're talking about. So when you talk to your doctor about Kangen water, he's got you in what category? Fraud. It's fraud. It's fraud. Who knows who who's the big guy who went to jail? Weil. Dr. Weil? He has this big scathing article about how horrible Kangen water is. And at the end of his article it says, all network marketing companies are scams. They're all frauds. Okay? Well, there's a pretty objective thought, you know. So Amway's illegal. There's half the population in the United States is illegal, according to him, okay? Because he's part of the AMA. He's Dr. Weil. And so you have to consider the source of the people who are bashing this, because this is an intentional thing. And they have cuffs on. They have to do what they're taught. Or they lose their license. They have to use it. Now, from them of the feds prosecuted sleazy hospitals, greedy MDs, clinics, ambulance operators, home suppliers, while the state medical boards were to target 2 categories. Solo practitioners, MDs, that recommended supplements, exercise, etc., instead of prescription drugs. Dr. Weil was put in jail. Do you know that? He said vitamin C was good for a cold, and they put him in jail. What do you think he says about vitamin C today? It's a fraud, okay? Which is pathetic. But you have to understand, once you're put in jail, they usually get your attention. So the states, the feds are prosecuting what should be prosecuted. The states are going after solo practitioner MDs and unlicensed competitors. Now, Dr. Wong here, he's a cardiologist. He can tell you he wouldn't take the medications he would prescribe to his patients because he knew what would happen. But he couldn't speak out while he was practicing because they could take his license. And that's how he made a living, okay? So they're going after solo practitioners and unlicensed competitors to drug and surgery and dollars. So anybody who has something that's going to make sure we're not selling drugs and creating surgery, that's our target. Is that pathetic? How many people have had surgery in your family? Did it destroy a whole big chunk of your life for a long time, trying to get your life back? So drugs and surgery is the choice that the AMA wants you to have. And we're here to say, hey, wait. Your body can heal itself. You don't have to do that. But we've got a big target. Now, I'm not trying to sound like a conspiracy theorist. These laws were passed. So you have to understand why we can't stay on this stage and say this water does anything. And that's why, because the FDA has got our company and all alternative medicines in the fraud watch, okay? So naturopaths, homeopaths, nutritionists, health food stores, massage therapists, alkaline water, et cetera, is now in the unlicensed competitors range. Now, part 2 of the plan was to affect the federal agency, because the feds are still going after the cheats, right? So to redirect those agencies' efforts away from the Justice Department's program and convince them to focus their energies on alternative medicine proponents, they did this with a 4-part sub-plan. They invited the FTC and FDA lower-level employees to the meetings for express purpose of propagandizing and kissing up to them. Oh, we love you, okay? They created a system of meetings where they had access to those federal employees on a regular basis for the purpose of propagandizing them. They used their contacts with those federal agencies to gain unwarranted credibility for their own plans and anti-alternative medicine programs, and they got the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services to give them official government credibility. So now they're official. What they say is now law. through the underdogs, okay? They didn't go to Janet Reno to do it. Part 3 of the plan is propaganda gambit. They created a so-called information base. This is a pretty brilliant plan if you think about it, right? They created an information base. Websites appeared sounding authoritative like Dr. Stephen Barrett, sleazyquackwatch.com, ionizerreviews.com, Kangen Water Scam, KangenWaterScamReview.com, questionable organizations, the National Council Against Health Fraud. Is that a name? The National Council Against Health Fraud, where they're the ones perpetuating the fraud. Good. Was to provide so-called expert witness for testimony. And here's a website, expertwitness.com, expert witness medical HTM. What is it, federal, blah, 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 was to act as a clearinghouse both for the names of people suggested for prosecution or persecution and where to find information and expert witnesses and more. The second part, and equally important, was to demonize and criminalize all aspects of alternatives through false suggestions or claims against them. Is anybody outraged yet? This is just, it just makes me sick because we're here trying to help people and that's not their intention. You can even prove it works, which is why I'm going to go through these studies to show you how to use them because they're trying their best to demonize every one of them. For instance, they claim that alternatives are untested and not standardized is simply a ploy to make alternatives look bad. Herbals, water, alternatives do not need to be tested or standardized. Herbals and water are more like wine, since they are a natural product dependent upon natural factors like weather. No two batches are going to be the same. Herbals and water, being part of nature, part of Earth's life cycle, have been field tested since the beginning of time. But if they say you can't test it because it's not standardized, can you standardize a bottle of wine? You can't do it. Every single crop, every single year, every single bottle is different. Same with water. The testing process, we the people, this is we put in place, is for new drugs, not herbs or naturals. We want drugs tested. I don't want people shoving drugs on the market without testing. But herbals and water, that's not what we the people decided to have. Those things, unlike herbals and water, that have never been introduced into the human body before. So when they put a drug in your body, it hasn't been tested. How many people on TV have seen, if you took this, call us, we're suing this company? You seen it? So in the morning they have, get this drug, take this Viagra, take this Cialis, take this. It may cause you to go blind. You may get an erection for 4 hours or 4 years. If you do, call your doctor. You're going to call everybody and go, hey, guess what happened to me? But I can tell you, all the drugs we're putting in our body cause a chemical reaction in your body, cause it not to work, which means they have to give you another drug to overcome that and another drug. And you guys have seen those Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday pill things? Full of drugs. We're a drug culture. We live on drugs and doctors are prescribing drugs, yet we have the war against drugs going on at the White House. Where does that make sense? Okay? So no two batches are going to be the same of our water or herbals. Okay, generally speaking, drugs are hugely dangerous since the warning and the side effects and nosebleeds. Some of them actually say you may die. Have you seen those? You may die taking this. Oh, can I have a bunch? It's like, are you kidding? Okay, part 4 was to create a relationship with Medicare and the health insurance industry to supposedly advise them of health fraud. So now we're going to advise Medicare and the health industry what's good or bad. Report Medicaid fraud now, okay? So I'm going to report those bad people making me well. Let's go get them, okay? Who are the players? One of the primary players, of course, is the Board of Management, staff of the Federal Bureau of States Medical Boards, and you can go to fsmb.org and see it. The Federation of States Medical Boards is a national nonprofit organization representing the 70 medical boards of the United States and its territories. The FMSB leads by promoting excellence in medical practice, licensure, and regulation as the national resource in the voice in behalf of state medical boards in the protection of the public. So this is the big guys that we're protecting you. Sounds good? Their website actually says, we don't know what alternative medicine is, so we call it health fraud. Now, how can the medical boards not know what alternative medicine is? How can you not know, really? If you're alive in this country, how can you not know? I don't know, so it must be fraud. It's amazing. Who they control the daily operation of the attack? It is they who control the attack. Best practices in medical regulation in 2000 will be a results-driven event that will begin to define the best practices in a number of important content areas. We hope you will join us in shaping the future of medical regulation. So these people are shaping the regulation manufacturers what we can and can't have, not based on what's tested on your body at all. Okay? I'm almost done with this part, but the National Council Against Healthcare Fraud, okay, wants to appear to be an important wheel in the healthcare. The reality is different. It's a private, nonprofit, voluntary health agency that focuses upon health misinformation, fraud, and quackery as public health problems. Its positions are based upon the principles of science that underlie consumer protection law. It advocates adequate disclosure in labeling or other warranties to enable consumers to make truly informed choices. So they want to make premature, a pre-marketing proof of safety and effectiveness for products and services claimed to prevent, alleviate, or cure any health problem, and accountability for those who violate the law. This site, which belongs to the longtime NCAHF board member Stephen Barrett, archives many documents. Okay, this guy Barrett was evicted from Loma Linda University 3 years ago, and after bouncing around from place to place, he now has found a home in a hair removal salon in Massachusetts. That's where his office is. Now, he's the president, and he's the medical director. One other player recently faded from the scene, muscled out by Dr. Bobby Ritz, who is a Pennsylvania licensing board officially classified as not in good standing, operates the dubious website quackwatch.com out of his basement in Allentown, Pennsylvania. So this is not this big medical group. It's this group paying some crooks to make sure that they poison everything you're here to do. And you have to be strong enough to stand up to it when you're talking to doctors, because I'm sure they don't know this story. Now here's Stephen Barrett, there he is. Although he claimed to be a retired psychiatrist, was never able to become board certified. He failed his test. He also gave up his license in '93. His employment record shows he never was able to hold a full-time job. His claim to psychiatric fame was his part-time 4 to 8 hour week employment at Pennsylvania Mental Hospital from '78 to '93. From '76 to 1978, he could not get a job. Okay, so he's an unemployed guy working in his basement to defraud your work. The current president, this guy, Bobby Barrett's, the state of Pennsylvania, relying on a quackpot legal argument, cost the taxpayers a bundle of cash for a prosecution that simply should not have happened. So they keep throwing this guy at courts. When you go to court, he's the guy you're going to fight, and the AMA is paying him to keep stirring up the trouble. Okay, he's literally hiding under a bed. Barrett's, whose former position at the Boston Medical Center was terminated after a physical altercation with a 72-year-old woman. He now operates a hair removal business. I just couldn't pass his hairy back picture. I had to put it on there. Okay, had to put that up. Now, common sense approach, your body runs on nutrition, not on drugs. Number one, mainstream medicine is focusing on treating symptoms with drugs. The only difference between drugs and poisons are dosages and intent. Your body runs on nutrition, not drugs. So the only difference between drugs and poisons are dosages. So the amount is the difference between the two. I was talking to an oncologist who told me he wishes he could recommend this water. But if he did, he would lose his license. And I went, but look at this patient you have and look at this patient. They're in remission. They're good. And your other patients who were doing chemo and radiation with them, they're not. What's the story? He says, all my patients are asking me for an alternative. They all want an alternative to drugs. If I prescribe this, it has to have a toxic chemical in it or I lose my license. That's what he told me. I have to prescribe a toxic chemical or I lose my license. And I'm thinking, that's what the medical establishment's at. And he's since quit that practice. He's opening up a holistic center himself. So fortunately, we've made some headway with some of the people, but that's a pretty sad state of affairs when you hear that's what's going on for most doctors. What nutrients do you need? Researchers have figured out that the human body requires over 100 different nutrients, building blocks. And you have to eat healthy something every day because your body's making new cells every night. That's what that's all about. Okay, that's a different subject, not today. Now, the myth of the balanced diet, I'm going to go through this. Although daily food intake is an important baseline for your health, you take great health risk and ignore many facts if you just rely on balanced diet for optimal health. If you want to avoid diseases, obtain optimal health, you must go beyond the basic 4 food groups on the Eating Right pyramid, which you've seen this before. Many modern day causes of vitamins and minerals deficiencies make it impossible to get healthy levels of nutrients from a balanced diet no matter how well you eat. You know, our food is fresh, it's frozen, it's homogenized, it's pasteurized. We went through what homogenation is and pasteurization and what all the different fat-soluble molecules, what those do. Your body has to have good nutrients. And by the way, if you don't have those classes, my wife has the other DVDs that we have on losing weight, on fat. We have the training classes on electrical voltage in your body. So I think we have a special 6 DVDs for, what is it, $60? Is that it? 6? You get 6? Yeah, 6 for 60. So you get them $15 a piece, or you can get 6 for $60, $10 a piece. So you get these back classes. And once you take the classes, we can get you certified by passing the test. There's 10 classes you have to take to become a molecular hydration specialist to get certified. So if you're interested in that, see more. But you can get the DVDs. Do you have those here with you today? Yes. Okay, all right. So we talked about what foods you have to have. What do you need in your body to make your body healthy? And that's certainly water is the biggest part of that. Now, U.S. health statistics, the top 4 killers in America are not drunk drivers, violent killings, AIDS, or illegal drugs. Now, the number one non-contagious degeneration, number one is the non-contagious degeneration of the heart called cardiovascular disease. Okay? Now, I'm not talking about how many people killed by doctors in hospitals. I'm talking about the disease happens to be cardiovascular. Other non-contagious diseases are number 2, 3, and 4. So the top 4 non-contagious diseases are killing. The war on disease has cost billions of dollars and years of research, yet millions of individuals continue to get victimized. Now, let's talk about this. Here's the top 4 killers. Cardiovascular, number 1. 50% of the deaths in America, that half of the deaths are caused by heart disease. 50%. So when half the people are dead, that's half is the big heart disease. What's that from? It's from acid eating their body. Acid building up. Acid's corrosive. It causes degeneration in your cells. Those cells degenerate your body, and that part of your body is degenerating, and it's going to have a heart attack. Okay? Number 2, cancer. We're losing the war on cancer. 2 out of 3 American women living today will get cancer. 2 out of 3 women today will get cancer. Men, it's 50-50. Out of every 2 men, 1 of them for sure will get cancer in this current generation. Okay? That is so backwards. We're going so backwards that with all the healthy food we're eating, you'd think we'd all be healthy flying around the planet, but we're not. 2 out of 3 women right now, that's 1 million new cases every year. Number 3, infections. U.S. death from infections rose 56, this is an old stat, between 80 and 92, making it the 3rd. This is even higher now. Adult onset diabetes, 100 years ago, it was number 100 on the disease list. Now it's number 4. Okay? It's interesting to note that low fat or non-fat foods, which we've been trying not to eat fat, don't eat fat, don't eat fat, don't eat fat. Non-fat foods use a combination of sugars to give them flavor. It could be said that the decade of the low-fat diet has been and continues to be the major factor for the increase in adult onset diabetes. So the more low-fat you eat, the sicker you are, the quicker you're getting diabetes, okay? Don't do anything that says diet. Anything that says diet, aspartame equal, that's aspartic acid. That's like taking acid and pouring it right on your veins, in your heart, okay? And of course, it loads up in your colon and in your kidneys, and every part of your body is not immune to the rotting sensation of having all that acid in different organs. Everybody who has cancer has the same cancer, just in different parts of the body. Breast cancer, lung cancer, pancreatic cancer, liver cancer, testicular cancer. It's the same cause, and our doctors aren't addressing the cause, they're addressing the symptoms. If you have a tumor, they'll focus on killing that tumor and radiation and chemo and giving pills to kill the tumor. Did it stop the reason that the tumor grew? If you cut the tumor out, you still have the body that's making tumors. It'll make another one. It just keeps popping them out. Why don't they spend that money for all those pink ribbons, which we don't donate to, by the way, because that's all fraud? Why don't they take that money and start looking at the cause of cancer instead of the cause of tumors, how to get rid of tumors? Because that's all we're doing is fighting tumors. Okay? Because you guys, breast cancer is a huge thing, and they're not doing a thing about it. There's millions of women getting sick of breast cancer, and all they're doing is cutting their breasts off and taking out tumors and not telling them how to stop their body from growing cancer, because that doesn't pay any money, because we're alternative. That's healthcare fraud, yes.
Men can get breast cancer also.
Men can get breast cancer as well. That's right. Absolutely right. So whenever we see these people with... Have you guys watched the NFL games lately?
Yeah, they're wearing pink socks.
They're all wearing pink socks and gloves and shoes. It makes me ill. It makes me ill. We're dealing with the NFL right now to replace Gatorade. Gatorade's paying them $500 million a year to make sure they're getting sick on Gatorade. $500 million a year, okay? We have NFL teams not drinking Gatorade, but they got to put it in a Gatorade bottle because they can't show it on the sidelines. In Long Beach State, yeah. So there's a lot of places that they're finally figuring out the players are all getting sick from drinking Gatorade from college and pro. And they know it. They say, we know it. This is how we get rid of our old players. We can't afford to keep them on the payrolls forever. We got new ones coming in. Get rid of them. Is that pathetic?
And what's more pathetic is that the little kids are drinking.
Little kids. That's how they're starting. You start little kids. We see kids drinking Monsters and Red Bulls, and they're surfing Red Bull and all the Gatorade. It's toxic. You guys have seen, if you haven't seen it, get this DVD. We do the test. We test all those waters and sodas right here electrically. Show you the voltage. It's positive charge. It sucks electrons out of your body. It pulls minerals out of your body, which is you have to run your body. It's sad. Okay. Skyrocketing medical costs. This guy, Dr. James Carter, in his book, The Racketeering in Medicine, The Suppression of Alternatives, discusses the money structure that largely controls the organized medicine. This money trail can be seen influencing medical schools, state licensing boards, medical facilities, pharmaceutical companies, government regulatory agencies. Alternative medicine is defined as any protocol, action, or therapy that isn't drugs, radiation, or surgery. That's it. Drugs, radiation, or surgery. If it's not that, it's fraud. Welcome to the fraud. We're all crooks here, okay? So, clinical studies. Now let's talk about this. I'm going to go through some of these pretty quickly here. Although research into alkaline ionized water began in 1931, it was not until establishment of the Ionizer Review Committee in 1993 that investigations and research from various aspects based on experimental planning were able to proceed. As a result, the various benefits and functions of alkaline ionized water and the further possibilities that it poses are gradually being explained in results research summarizing the functions possessed by alkaline ionized water are introduced. So I'm going to increasing awareness caused by up-to-date scientific. So we're going to go through these pretty quick here. With the increased awareness and desire for citizens for better health and better drinking water, our alkaline ionized water apparatus can greatly contribute to the maintenance and improvement of the health of citizens, and it's expected that demand will continue to greatly increase in the future. Once you give this water to your friends, do they want water for their friends? Yes. As soon as they get some, they say, can I get some for this guy? Yes. Did you say you have to? Did you charge them for it? No. We've got people taking 27 gallons away from our house at a time. Every 3 days they come back with 20 of these empties and take out 27 more. Because they've got their friends and their friends and their friends drinking the water because their friends are getting better. And it's not the emperor's new clothes. If it didn't work, people say, are you kidding? This bucket's too heavy. I'm doing that once. I'm done. Or that's too far to drive. Or this water leaked on my trunk. Because those containers are terrible, aren't they? How many people actually lost containers, people not giving them back? Okay? More than 10. Tony, more than 100. Okay? So, you guys, we're going out of our way with our money and our time and our water and our belief to give someone something they just can't see through because they've been hypnotized by these guys. Because our whole life has been the AMA, go to the doctor. You got a boo-boo, go to the doctor, right? What's the doctor? He gives you acid sucker. Here, you've been a good kid, has acid. Blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to suck on my sucker, which is full of acid. You've been a good little kid. And hey, we actually have National Acid Day coming up, right? Halloween. Coming up soon. Everybody gets Snickers and candy bars, you know. Make sure you load up. If you give them an apple, they're going to accuse you of putting razor blades in it, right? Because that's alkaline. Don't do that. It's amazing. Our whole culture knows that story. You know, like that's something that's true. But we're feeding acid to everybody, little kids and adults. And unfortunately, we have friends and family. My brother is now dead from diabetes. He's 4 years younger than me. He thought the water was a scam because he read it on the internet. We offered to give him a machine. Here's a machine. We bought him here. He wouldn't take it. They found him dead on the floor in Denver of diabetic coma. My own younger brother. Yeah, we have thousands of people I don't know who are no longer taking insulin because they had enough faith to take the water. So you can't save everybody, and it's a sad thing. But our goal here is to try to save each other one at a time. Get your neighbor, get your mom, get your dad, get your brother, get the guy at work. But let them try the water after they see the DVD. How many people give people water without knowledge and lost the container and never saw the guy again? Okay? Because see, if you're giving people water without knowledge, they're still drinking soda and drinking the water, and drinking soda is like giving Superman kryptonite. He can't fly. It's not going to work. Ready, get set, boom. because soda's killing the water, okay? So you have to have directions. This is a medical device. You can't, we say, look, it's company policy. I can't give you this water without watching this DVD. It's a medical device. I wouldn't give you a gun without teaching you how to shoot it. So here's shooting instructions. Once you do that, here's your gun. Okay, here's your drinking instructions. Now here's your water. Drink it. Now that you know you can't drink soda, you can't have diet anything. Okay, because there's rules that come with your body, and those you break those rules, and I don't care what you put in, it's not going to work. Okay, so we're here to get you the maximum health you can possibly get. Okay, now collaborative research by Internal Medicine Department of Shanghai, I told you about this medical university, and the Department of Gastroenterology at Okura Hospital, acid control effect, improvement effects on gastrointestinal problems. Now, these are going to go fast. Safety testing. Investigation of safety through physical properties testing. So they did that. Investigation of safety through animal safety. So they did physical property and animal safety testing. Toxicity testing. Research by life sciences labs. Okay? Investigation effectiveness through animal effective testing. Intestinal fermentation suppression effects. Here we got a dog doing his animal test. Now, in testing with rats, the intestinal fermentation suppressant effect of alkaline ionized water was confirmed under conditions with feed having plentiful intestinal fermentation. In addition, the trend to reducing the malodorous metabolic products of ammonia, phenol, in fecal matter, and the suppression of lipid peroxide, which means it doesn't stink anymore. You know, when you go to the bathroom, usually it's like, woo, don't go in there. You start drinking this water, it starts neutralizing the fecal smell. The smell starts to go away. Now, I'm not going to say it's wonderful, but you can actually walk in the room and not die. And another benefit is you can get in and out in less than 3 hours. You don't have to read the Declaration of Independence. You get in, get out, and you're done. Hey! Instead of, hey, can I have page, can I have the business section? You know, no. Because your body goes, you're done. Wow, what happened? I'm done. So this water, if you don't believe it works, drink it for a week and then call me. Okay? I don't care who you are. Your intestinal system will tell you this stuff got something going on the first day. And in fact, if you're going to have a buzz, start with 9-5. Yes. Oh, yeah. Now, she made a good point here. You guys, when you drink Kangen water, your body's 70% water. Your body burns 8 glasses of water a day. You know that your body, it burns, gone. Evaporates 8 glasses of water a day. If you drink 8 glasses of water a day, you're not fixing anything. All you're doing is going back to square zero. If you want to repair your body, you need to go past 8 glasses a day. And you can't drink that while you're eating a meal. When I'm eating my meal, my stomach, my mouth is making amylase, lipase, and protease, 3 enzymes. I'm chewing food up, mixing with saliva. It goes down my esophagus, hits my stomach. My stomach doesn't have acid in my stomach until I put food in it. At that point, it will create hydrochloric acid. There's no acid pouch. It doesn't squirt acid in there. It will make hydrochloric acid out of the outer layer called the mucosa level in your stomach. Hydrochloric acid has a pH of 1.2. That's so nuclear strong, it'll eat a hole right through the carpet, through the cement. It'll eat a hole right through the hood of your car. That's how strong hydrochloric acid is on the pH chart. If I take Kangen water and take a big gulp of Kangen water while I'm eating, I change the pH of the water in my stomach. This is a 9.5. From 1.2 to 9.5 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's add 0.9 zeros behind a 1. That's how much more powerful this water is than acid. Okay? So if I want to dilute my food, so I can't, see, I have to put acid in my stomach, because I put food in my stomach, the only thing my body runs on is minerals that I'm eating, right? Vitamins and minerals. Where does it get that? From my food. If I don't soak the food in acid, like a washing machine, take that food and soak it in acid, then I can't pull the minerals out of the food. If I put food in a bowl full of alkaline, it would sit there all day. I put it in acid, it dissolves, right? I put it in my stomach, the acid dissolves, the minerals get pulled out of my stomach. As it goes past my duodenum into my small intestine, those little finger things called villi, which I'm going to show you a picture of, sucks the nutrients out of the food, and it stores those nutrients in my liver. So when I'm awake all day, I'm walking around, I've got nutrients in my liver, waiting to go to sleep. When I go to sleep, my liver wakes up, and it takes those nutrients that I just pulled out of the food, and makes my 500 million cells a night. That's where that gets that. But if I don't have acid in my stomach, it's going to get undigested. It's called indigestion. As it goes through, and it starts packing inside your colon in like rings on a tree. So it gets thicker and thicker. Pretty soon, you can't drive a hammer through that colon. It's called IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. And I got a picture. It'll be IBS. You get keeks in your large intestine, and you get diarrhea and constipation in the same day. Does that sound fun? What are you going to do? I don't know. It's like, but something for sure, something's happening here now. Okay. So her point is, if you drink this water, it's going to dilute the acid in your stomach and not able to break the food down to pull the minerals out, the nutrients out that you need, the vitamin B and C and D and A and protein and all the vitamins and minerals, because that comes from your food that you eat. And of course, if you're eating plastic food, dead food, McDonald's food, there's not much to get there anyway, because it's already been, all the good nutrients have been pulled out of it before it gets in your body. But drinking the water during a meal is a no-no. And we have these things called top secret packs. So when we have a new person come to a meeting, we make sure they go home with a top secret pack. It has what? Water drinking instructions. Instead of saying, hey, here's 3 gallons, drink this water. Boom. Nothing happens. I've got a headache, We give them water drinking instructions, and it has newspapers in here. Have you got a newspaper in here, Galen? You got a newspaper in there? Yeah, here it is. So we have the newspapers in here so that people can read what happened to other people, on the water. Hey, I like to read this. The secret's out. Water eliminates pathogens. It does this, it does that. So we give them information to read. Otherwise, they're going to go on the internet and find out, these guys who are paid to write horrible articles about us, that you have to have an antidote. This is the antidote to the bad stuff on the internet, So, by the way, we make these so that you have them for your new people, so that you have something for them to read instead of, boy, I wish I had one, Now, also, let's see, what time is it? Oh, we're still doing good. All right. So the odor in your feces, in your duty, gets way less. It goes away, So that's one of the good things. Now, comparison to total amount of short-chain fatty acids appendix. This is intestinal fermentation. Nice study to do, but you can see as the pH gets higher and higher, with alkalized water, here's tap water, your stinky factor gets less, So with the total amount of short-chain fatty acids, it's the metabolic product of fermentation caused by intestinal bacteria, and use an index of intestinal fermentation. So this is a higher stinky factor as it keeps getting better as the pH gets better. Now, calcium absorption effect. Once again, I'm just going through these pretty fast. It was verified that when rats that were raised on calcium deficient feed intentionally, when they drank ionized alkaline water, the calcium concentration in bones increased and bone formation was normalized, which suggests a link to osteoporosis prevention. So these are kind of hard to see, but you can see these bones are pretty hollowed out. When your body starts running out of minerals, every time you eat food, your body, when you have all this acid in your stomach, before it goes in your small intestine, it has to go through a dramatic change. If that acid went from your stomach into your small intestine, you would explode. You would physically explode because it's so acidic. It would eat right through your small intestine and right through your skin. And in fact, one of my neighbors actually exploded. Not because of this. He was walking around with this big thing. He goes, what happened? He says, I blew up. He goes, what? Never heard of that. His acid was going from his stomach into his small intestine without being diluted. You have a pancreas that every time you eat, your pancreas is told by this little spot right below your stomach called the duodenum, do you know how acidic this food is? And he goes, I know exactly how acidic it is because you had steak and tequila and chocolate cake. It says that's a lot of sweets. That's pretty acidic. So it says that's probably a 3 on the pH chart. So it tells your pancreas, right now, go out to the body and bring back the antidote, which is calcium, magnesium, potassium, and sodium. Minerals, It pulls them all in the pancreas and mixes it together, and it's called pancreatic juice. That has a pH of 10 to 11. So that real high pH gets shot from the duodenum, from the pancreas into the duodenum, into the small intestine right before it goes into your small intestine. It has to raise the pH all the way from 3 up to 8.1. Inside your stomach, life's 8.1, nice and alkaline. At 8.1, the villi can start pulling the nutrients out of the food and storing it in your liver. So it's a whole little process here. But back to your point, you don't want to drink this water during a meal because it'll upset the apple cart. 45 minutes before, drink lots of it. 30 minutes after and 60 minutes after, drink lots of it. Yes, Ed?
So Patrick Swayze, Michael Landon, and now Steve Jobs. What happened?
That's a good point. You know, we just lost Steve Jobs this week. One of probably our generation's smartest people, who's done a lot to help a lot of people technology-wise. It was interesting when he was dying, people said, "You changed the world." He says, I didn't change anything. He says, I was born, I had kids, and I'm dying. Everything I did can't stop me from dying. I didn't change life at all. I changed technology. But see, here's the richest man in the world, one of the richest men, who could afford any treatment, don't you think? Do you think he had chemo? Yep. Do you think he had radiation? Yep. Do you think he had surgery? Yep. He had all of it, didn't he? He had transplants, he had surgery, he had things taken out of his body. What was he dealing with? The symptoms. He spent millions on the symptoms. The richest man in the world died just like everybody. Now, how about Lance Armstrong? He isn't dead, is he? He had testicular cancer. Riding a bicycle, this man didn't do all that. He took alternative. He did the fraud. He went the fraud route. Okay? He's drinking this water. He's taking all the alternative things. His body has voltage. His body healed itself. Okay? And he's alive and well. He's out racing again today. Okay? You ever see his story? Anybody see his story, how strong that is? Okay? What's that?
7 different cancers.
7 different cancers. And he beat them all. Okay? Because he was going after the cause, not the symptom. Everybody else is going for the symptom, including Steve Jobs, which is pretty tragic here. Okay? So, thanks for that, Ed. I appreciate bringing that up because we shouldn't just go by. Yes?
Is there any way we can find out what he spent for medical dollars trying to get well? I mean, that would be interesting.
I don't know. You can be sure. See, when you're dying, you can have $1 billion, $1 trillion. It doesn't matter, does it? I mean, you're going to spend everything you can to not die, and so he did everything he could, and it didn't work because he's doing conventional medicine. He's doing the AMA route. He's doing all that stuff that we've been taught. Go talk to your doctor. Okay? Now, see, Dr. Day is alternative medicine. He knows better. He beat cancer. Do you know you guys had cancer? He was an Olympic cycler. Stand up, Dave, for a second. Come here. Come here. Dave, can you give me the 30-second version of what happened to you? I know it's pretty. Look how buff this guy is. Tell us your story.
Basically, I'm almost 60 now, but when I was a cyclist, I was a bronze medalist. I used to race on a velodrome, though. And bronze medalist, this was years before Lance Armstrong. And when I got testicular cancer, the doctors just said, we have no idea what's going on. You know, you're in the greatest shape. You're a great physical specimen. And that, and unhooking these IVs from my body, and, you know, taking my supplements and going running 5 miles a day on the beach when no one was allowed to take these out and leave the hospital. They let me slide. I had a really cool guy, and I was able to, you know, beat it. But guys that were with me that laid in the hospital had to go back and back and back until either the chemo killed them or, you know, the cancer killed them. And it would come back and back and back. But I really changed my lifestyle.
Dramatically.
You know, so it made the big difference. This is before Kangen water. Now, with the Kangen water, when my mother, for example, had breast cancer, and again, the body heals itself. So I'm not saying that the water cured her breast cancer, but I'm saying that when she had an incident with breast cancer, and she tried, you know, because my parents are medically oriented, she tried taking these chemo pills that they use, you know, for breast cancer. It's a chemo in a pill form, so you could actually take it at home. But she got deathly ill. She called the doctor and said, I'm gonna have to die rather than take these pills anymore. And that's about the time my dad was ill, and I got the water for them. And that was almost 5 years ago now. And it's changed their lives and mine.
Big hand for David. Thank you, David. Appreciate it. Okay, I got some movement. Knocked my microphone off here. Okay. You still hear me okay? Good, all right. So here you can see this water in testing has put density back in the bone. Because every time, if you run out of minerals, your body will go to your bone and take the minerals it needs to neutralize breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Every meal, it needs minerals to neutralize every meal. Every meal is acid. It has to be acid. It has to go through an acid wash. But it can't be acid in your stomach, so it has to be neutralized by the minerals in your body. Including, if you haven't got enough, it's going to take them out of your bones, out of your teeth and your hair. Hair turns gray, your teeth get cavities, and your bones, you get osteoporosis, okay? So these aren't mystery diseases. This is known. We understand we control this in our own life, all right? Now, the same effect was observed in animals tested using aging-induced mice. And it was verified that ionized alkaline water acted to reduce weakening of the bone structure. So we had different tests conducted with the same exact results. Again, this is the general testing. Photograph of rats' calcium-deficient diet. Hard to see with this light on. You can see calcium deficiency symptoms like hair falling off, bones breaking occurred when giving tap water. So tap water. What's in tap water? First drug. Chemical, chlorine, right? All kinds of stuff, lye, fluoride. That is causing calcium deficiency. Here's calcium deficiency symptoms were attenuated with alkaline water. So it reverses those and turns it back into a happy little rat again. Your body responds the same way, okay? And so there's all sorts of tests here. Osteoporosis, just so you have a quick lesson here. You can see it's a thinning of bone tissue and loss of bone density over time. There are no symptoms in early stages of the disease. No symptoms. You don't know you have it. So you just walk along. How many people have seen people like this, all hunched over? Okay, like this, okay? We saw one lady this morning, just like that. Symptoms occurring late in the disease include bone pain or tenderness, fractures with little or no trauma, loss of weight as much as 6 inches over time, loss of height, low back pain due to fractures of the spinal bones, neck pain due to fractures of the spinal bones, stoop posture, kyphosis, also known as dowager's hump, that's what that is. Regular exercise and vitamin and mineral supplements can reduce and even reverse loss of bone density. Alkaline water in these tests did the same thing, okay? So if you're not sick, people say, I don't need this water, I feel good. Good, stay good. Who wants to stay healthy? Anybody? Who wants to make sure their kids stay healthy? It makes sense, doesn't it? Get your kids to stay healthy and get them off tap water, get them off bottled water, get them off the things that are killing them, okay? Because you don't want to end up, now this is once again, reduced bone density inside the backbone. Normal bone, here's osteoporosis. You can see all the minerals have been sucked out of the bone to neutralize breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And your body's just feeding. It's like a little parasite, like a vampire feeding on its own self. Patients not aware of the osteoporosis until they suffer a fracture. Now here, this is hard to see, but you can see the pelvic bone. You've seen those commercials, help, I fall and I can't get up. That's because their bones are so brittle, they just snap like that, and now their pelvic bone's cracked. And try to be 70 or 80 walking around with a broken pelvis, or try to get better. It's your body, it doesn't mend because there's nothing to mend itself to. The glue's gone, all the calcium's gone inside. So they're not usually aware until they suffer a painful fracture. Symptoms depend on the location of the fracture, but this is a pretty horrible one right there. All right. Now, once again, root-causing degenerative disease, I talked about this a bit sooner. When the food comes in your stomach, it creates hydrochloric acid. It mixes with the food called chyme, goes down, hits this little spot called the duodenum. The duodenum will tell the hydrochloric acid to shut off in your stomach. It tells the pancreas to go out and bring back calcium, magnesium, potassium, sodium, and I got to make that in white so I can see it next time. Bring back these minerals. It makes this pancreatic juice, has a pH of 11, shoots it in here and raises the pH of the chyme up to 8.1, and the nutrients, the little villi, pull the nutrients out and stored in your liver. So that's the process that's going on every time you eat a meal, okay? That's why you have to have the water in your body 45 minutes before. If you don't drink a lot of water 45 minutes before, what's happening? When your pancreas says, hey, I need calcium, magnesium, potassium, sodium to make bicarbonate CO3, your body goes, I'm sorry, I got to go into the storage reserves, which is your teeth, your hair, and your bones, and it starts taking it out of the permanent part of your body that you need to walk around and run. Instead of, if I can drink cognac water 45 minutes before, when my pancreas says it's time for me to have the antidote to the acid in my stomach, it goes, fine. I got plenty of it in your tissue. It's floating around in your blood. How much do you need? I just load it up. I just fill up my tank full of the minerals I need to neutralize the acid in my stomach. That's why 45 minutes before, cook, 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 cook. Now you're teeming with nutrients, and now you're ready to eat to neutralize the acid without depleting your actual body, your physical body, and your bones and your tissue. Okay? So healthy people need this water to stay healthy, just like sick people need to reverse it because they want to put density back in their bones again. So that's another reason. Okay, now, fat, I just want to show you this. The acid that you have in your body, every time you eat food, the nutrients get pulled out in your liver. The acid waste, the extra acid waste, where's that go? Well, you get stuff in your colon, but all the acid waste gets stored in your blood cells, 80 trillion cells. So the water you're drinking, this water has to flush the acid out of your cells. If you're not drinking this water, which has microclustered hexagonal water molecules, which means I've got 6 H2O molecules bonded together. And the hydrogen and the oxygen hang on, it's called a covalent bond. It hangs on and it makes a thing that looks like a snowflake. That's the water that goes through your cells really easily and flushes the acid out, okay? So we're all drinking that. So our acid that's being stored in my cells, every time I'm drinking a meal, it's flushing the acid out. Out it goes, and my body's staying in balance. It's called homeostasis. If you're drinking Aquafina, Dasani, tap water, all they're called bulk waters. I've got 24 to 26 molecules in a clump, which may not seem very big when you're talking about molecules, but those acid clumps, when it gets so much acid built up in the cells, the acid will actually break out of the cell and it forms a little rock called uric acid. And uric acid looks like a piece of salt. When you look under the microscope in the blood, it looks like a little salt in the blood. And so here, this is a little uric acid in the blood, and it's radiating acid inside the body. Now your body doesn't like that much, so your body goes, we got to get this acid out of the body. So what it does is it moves those acid clumps down to your toe, and it actually tries to come out of your toe. It's called gout. And you have a big swollen toe, and acid clumps come out your toe, and your knuckles and your fingers and your elbows. That's what gout is. It's acid clumps. Now, if your body can't get enough out of your body that way, it'll say, I got a plan. This guy's going to die if I keep his pH this low, so acidic. So your body will take and make cholesterol, fat, and it starts wrapping these acid clumps up in fat to keep the acid in a little ball so it doesn't poison your body. And it stores it right where you want it the most. Women, you get it on your butts, so you get a big butt. And then men, we get these big fat guts, okay? The fat's saving your life. You can exercise, you can run. If the fat comes off, it exposes the acid, you get sick and die. So the body goes, I'd rather have fat, keep you alive. I like you fat alive rather than skinny and dead. But the idea is if I drink this water, I'm going to wash out the fat and the acid at the same time. Because this is an antidote to the acid, right? Just like it is in your stomach. Even though it's stored up inside your cells and your tissue. So this is acid crystal covered by fat. Now, here's uric acid in X-ray. Can you see? That's hard to see. Kayleen, pop the lights out for a second. I want them to see this. There it is. So there's a piece of uric acid comes down the body and it actually tries to escape. Who knows someone with gout? Anybody? Okay. It's a painful disease. It's horrible. This water is a really wonderful antidote to that, drinking it. But you can see the uric acid building up inside the toe. And there's actually much worse pictures. I just wanted to pick a picture you can actually look at instead of getting sick at. But that's uric acid and gout photo right there up live, up close. Okay, last part of this, lights back on. Drinking alkaline water helps restore the essential alkaline buffers your body needs. Puts calcium, magnesium, potassium, sodium back in so that you have a ready, available fighting force ready for each meal that you're putting acid in. Okay, let's get on here with the doctors. People ask, why doesn't the stomach digest itself? Not a good question? With all that acid, how come it's not digesting itself? Well, ever since doctors more than 2 centuries ago discovered that gastric juice digests meat, men have asked, why doesn't the stomach digest itself? There are 2 answers. One, of course, that sometimes the stomach does digest itself with disastrous consequences like my neighbor. The other is that gastric mucosa contains a barrier that prevents the digestive juice from attacking the wall of the stomach. So here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers. 5 layers right here. This 5th layer is called the mucosa level. And so it's your stomach, this makes acid. This is like an anti-acid barrier. So that's what keeps the stomach from being eaten. If you didn't have this, it would go right through your stomach and blow out till you explode. So your body's pretty smart here, okay? Gastric mucous membranes damage, suppressed, and effects. Research conducted by these same people, rats, it was verified that drinking ionized water suppresses gastric mucous membrane damage model. Okay, so once again, it's protecting that mucous membrane. So this water is doing lots of things before you eat, so when you eat, it's ready to go, okay? Okay, once again, only in rats. However, the effect was verified only in rats that continually drank alkaline water. There was no effects when alkalized water was given only once. So one time isn't a shot for it. Okay. Once again, here's this copies of this rat group, alkali group. You can see the whole different mucosa levels much thicker. And here's a close-up of villi. That's what the villi look in your small intestine. So when I show the little pictures of villi, when the food comes through, these little finger things are sucking the nutrients out, storing it in your liver. That's kind of a cool looking picture. I love these kind of anatomy pictures. Okay. Long-term effects on mice. I think we have enough mice studies. The antacid effect. I'm going to just touch this slightly here. Intrastomach pH fluctuations, interstomach. So once again, you can see before drinking, after drinking, every time, any test they've done, intrastomach pH fluctuation, when you drink the water, you get an improvement every single time. And people always say the acid is going to dilute it. It doesn't do it. I'm going to go through these kind of fast, okay, because these are general. I'm going to get more specific as we get into this here, but I just want you to see improved side effects against gastrointestinal systems. We're talking a lot about the gastrointestinal system. How come? Because we're allowed to talk about that. It's one of the things that we're allowed to talk about, so everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon. Now, I have studies here. I wish I could read you, but I'm not allowed to, but I'll just do some topics. Cancer, blood sugar, diabetes, gangrene, lower limbs, hepatitis, cirrhosis, stomach, duodenal ulcers. These are the ones that we're not allowed to use, okay? These are studies, but I just want you to know, if you go study yourself, go do some research, you'll find them yourself, okay? But since this is being taped, and I want Enagic to still love me, okay? You notice we're saying everything is alkaline ionized water. If you notice that, okay? So we're just making sure that we don't step on anybody's toes so that the Enagic stays in the clear. So we want to make sure that's all happening. Okay, now, so once again, gastrointestinal symptoms, chronic diarrhea, constipation, abnormal fermentation in intestines, indigestion, acid indigestion. Were given alkaline ionized water at a pH of 9.5 for drink for 2 weeks, and as a result, it was verified that there was an improvement, 88% in the patients, and further normalization of bowel movement was also verified. Okay, so 88%, who thinks that's a big deal? If you can't go to the bathroom, 20% is a big deal, isn't it? 88% is pretty much, you're pretty cleaned out. It's pretty nice. So once again, here's more statistics that show 88% improved. So they had 12%, or zero, nobody went backwards. 12% didn't change, but you can see 88% did change. Now, double blind, once again, for a more objective evaluation, a double blind was carried out. They were given alkaline water purified for 4 weeks instead of 2 weeks. Once again, chronic diarrhea, constipation was also confirmed. So it was all the problems that they had before went away. I've got more sitting on toilet pictures than I've ever thought I'd ever have in my life for this study. It just, I keep going through it. You can't use that one again, you know? Okay, here's the double blind. Once again, neither one no. Okay, so once again, jump to the bottom line here. Alkaline ionized water must be consumed properly. Ionized water is not always effective for all stomachs and intestinal conditions. That gets back to her thing of it's not right to drink this during a meal because you're going to dilute the hydrochloric acid and you're not going to be able to pull the minerals out of your food that you're trying to digest, all right? Once again, here's the same double-blind test. It shows with tap water, alkaline water is blue, red's purified. This is purified. This is like Aquafina Dasani. Purified water means purified water is dead water. All the minerals have been pulled out of it. It's been put through high pressure, through a membrane, and there's no minerals. When you drink that, 2 things go wrong with your body. Number one, since water has a memory, every time you pull minerals out of water, its brain is stuck. I need minerals. So when you drink it, it goes, oh my gosh, look at the minerals, and it pulls the minerals out of your body. It leaches the minerals out of your body, but you're trying to keep those to use them. Number two, since this water, it's pulling electrons. It's got a positive charge instead of a negative charge. So you drink it, instead of adding energy, it's robbing your body of electrons, pulling the energy out. You have to have electrons to get your body strong so you can fly, okay? Every time you're drinking bottled water that says pure, purified, or ultra purified, that means they've killed the water, it's dead water, and that water is banned in Japan. They won't let it in. Because if you drink it, you get sick. When you get sick, the doctors don't get paid, so guess what? No pure water over there. They go, we're not doing this over there. But our country, you can go to our hospitals and say, you want a 7-Up or you want a Coke? Yeah, or a shot, yeah. Or both. Can I put you on some drug? Sure, yeah, okay? But your doctor will ask you, do you want a soda, you want a Pepsi, what do you want? That should be not even on the premises. It shouldn't be on the ground. It should have machines there, but not in this country. It's just part of staying sick, okay? Part of the culture. All right. Once again, I'm talking about safety. Since alkaline ionized water has been approved, medical device, it's been received approval as a medical device for 37 years in the market. There have been no reported instances of problems with safety. 37 years, no problems. Do you think it's safe? Yeah. If there's going to be a problem, would it have happened by now, you think? Okay? So when someone says, nah, I got sick, did they get sick? They got symptoms, they got Herxheimer's. Herxheimer says, as the toxins leave your body, you're going to re-experience those toxins because they're sitting inside your body like in a big lump. You take them out of the lump, take them out of the cellophane, and you get to re-experience all the medications you've had, all the bacteria you've had. It comes out and you get to feel like you had the flu again. It's called Herxheimer's, Herxheimers. Look it up on Google. Print that device, put that down. So when someone says, I feel bad, you go, good, keep drinking it. Drink more. Because the faster the toxins leave your body, the better you're going to get well. Now, we're going to talk about toxic load here, too. Okay? Now, once again, safety, clinical testing. When alkaline ionized water at pH 9.5 was drunk by volunteers, no abnormalities in either subjective symptoms or objective, subjective or subjective, were observed. Even for blood analysis, urinalysis, and stool analysis, no abnormal data. Blood analysis, urinalysis, and stool analysis. So that's pretty specific. They're going to the blood, they're going to the urine, and they're going, obviously, for everything they possibly can find to see how your body's reacting to it. So you're not going to get sick. No one's going to get sick. People come up to me all the time and say, well, my brother's got cancer. He's got diabetes. He's got ulcers. He's got something. Can he drink it? Okay? The answer is what he has, does that disease, is it contagious? Is diabetes contagious? No. Could I sit on his lap with diabetes if he had diabetes? I'm not going to catch it. He can have cancer. I'm not going to catch cancer from him. Okay? It's not contagious. That's a degenerative disease. Once I get it, I start to get worse. I'm degenerating. This is a water that's good for all degenerative diseases. Okay? Now, so when you ask yourself, can my sister take this? Ask yourself, is this contagious? Does whatever she have, is it contagious? No. Drink the water. Does everybody need water?
Yes.
Everybody. Is there anybody who doesn't need water? No. Is there a certain species of people that can live on vodka only? We've all tried it. All through college, you thought that was true. I don't need water, you know. But you can find out your body, when you're born, is 90% water. As you get closer to death, is 50% water because you stop drinking water because you no longer drink it. Your body doesn't crave it. You don't even get thirsty anymore because you think you're getting enough water in your juice and all that kind of stuff. But it's safe for everybody no matter what. Even with blood test, urinalysis, and stool analysis, for 37 years, nobody's come up sick yet. So I don't care who you know, they're not sick. They're getting better, okay? You got to get better before you get worse, okay? Okay, intestine, once again, no negative effect. Gastric mucous membranes, ionized calcium and calcium nutrient source. Okay, so once again, I'm just sort of repeating myself here. Non-specific abdominal complaints. Okay, this is the irritable bowel, IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. Okay, on intestinal fermentation and feeding conditions. Once again, now this is what IBS looks like, irritable bowel. Now you have a stomach, you have 16 feet of small intestine, and then it gets hooked up here, comes to your small intestine, feeds into your large intestine, it goes up, this is called the transverse, and this comes down. When you get sections that collapse on it, that's irritable bowel, okay? Now some doctors say this doesn't exist, others say you have an obstruction in there. But if I'm going to be hydrating myself with water that's microclustered hexagonal, that penetrates my cells 600 times faster, what do you think the odds are of water getting through any part of this colon? Pretty good, huh? Don't you think? I mean, so as long as I know that I'm going to put my body, I'm going to make sure that I'm putting in at least a half ounce of this water every day and per pound. And if I can do an ounce per pound, I'm doing better. Then all of a sudden, I know all the stuff that's sticking and not working is now going to start working. And of course, everything that's jammed in here, who lives in here, where's he going to go? He's going to go out. He's going to go out your body. And it comes out pretty fast sometimes. And it's pretty amazing how quickly people who've had constipation their whole life, they're like, it's over with. And then another section of this, the back part of this is called hemorrhoids. When the back part comes out the back end, that's because you're passing a peach seed every morning. Doesn't feel good. And so you're blowing the back end of your butt out of your body. Okay? And so if you stop grunting and trying to, you know, and that's just chapter 1. If you just sit down and go, wouldn't it be nice? It's like, oh, your hemorrhoids go, oh, what happened? Because they're ready for a battle. They're going to be bloody when this is over. They're done. But they actually retract, pop back in and go, hey, I live here. Stuff goes by me and I don't get blown up. Yeah. It's not a battle every morning. Okay? So this is a pretty important part of your body, and every single degenerative disease starts right here. All of them start right here. Diabetes, fibromyalgia, lupus, GERD, gout, all of them have to have a food source for acid, and this is right here. Your colon cancer, ulcerative colitis, all those are inside the colon, and that's a food source for all the diseases you're going to get. Am I squeaking and beeping here? Okay, now. Oh, by the way, if you guys can turn your phones off again after the break, I appreciate that. So this condition right here, you've seen a lot of people bent over. That's what that's about. Get them on this water as quickly as you can. But once again, you got to tell them, you know, no sodas, no sports drinks, you know, no carbonated beverages, because that's the antidote. It's going to upset the apple cart with this. Okay, now here's gastric mucous membranes. Isn't that a gorgeous picture? Inside the body, further investigation of alkaline water found positive effects on damaged gastric mucous membranes, cultured cells due to activated oxygen. Now, activated oxygen is a free radical. What is that? Oxygen. I'm breathing it. I love it. Gotta have to say it loud. Oxygen by itself, when you look at it biologically, it has 8 electrons flying around it. Real tiny little electrons. When it loses an electron, he's out of balance. Electrons don't like to be out of balance. It's called active oxygen. He's actively looking for his lost electron. Oh my gosh, where's my electron? Well, you've seen when you cut open an apple, what happens to it? Turns brown in how fast? 5 minutes, maybe? That's because the free radicals, the active oxygen, is looking for his lost electron. It goes in the apple, goes, oh, it starts pulling electrons off, and it turns it brown. Just like your skin, it's like it's aging, just like inside your body, because 2% of the air we're breathing are free radicals. Okay? How come? Why do we have to have any of them? Well, because free radicals are what eats all the pollution. If you didn't have that, we couldn't get to work. We'd have all pollution, so the free radicals are eating the pollution. So there's good and bad, but if you don't have enough extra electrons floating around in your body for these free radicals to come eat, what's it going to eat? Lung tissue. Any part of your body, there's an electron, pull it off. If I'm drinking this water, I've got plenty of extra electrons, and free radicals don't care. I'm going to pick the easiest electron to get, and it's easier to pick it off water than it is to go to my bone and rip it out. Okay? So make sure you're flooding yourself with plenty of these electrons in the body. Now, so what's this? Mucous membrane cells due to activated oxygen. So what happens is when these free radicals come in, they'll start eating this mucous membrane. The mucous membrane is what lines my stomach. It lines my intestine. So the entire inside of my intestine has got mucous membrane in there. If I'm allowing free radicals to go in without having an antidote, it's going to start eating the mucous membrane. And these little spots right here, that's where you start getting free radicals digging in. It's like, oh, I got a spot. I'm going to start digging. And that's where you start getting the beginning of stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. Stage 4 is when it breaks through your lining of your intestine, and now, pow, it's popped out like a little volcano, and now it's called metastasizing. Because outside of your cells, you got this little thing it's called your lymphatic system. And the lymphatic system is your sewage system of your body, so all the acid is supposed to go in your stomach, through your body, into your cells, get washed out, go through your lymphatic system, and get washed out of your body, okay? Cleanser. If you're not, who's ever had those lumps in their armpit? The little lymphatic, okay, that's getting acid lumps because your lymphatic system, the garbage, the sewer system is getting clogged up, and you get them in your joints here, you get them in your neck. You have to be moving to move my lymphatic system. My heart is pumping my blood. Nothing is pumping my lymphatic system, and I got 7 times more lymphatic fluid than I do blood. So how do I pump that? Every joint I have is moving lymphatic system. So I can do this, I can do that. Anything I'm moving, any joint I have, I can move lymphatic fluid through my body, okay? If you're not going to move, I'm not moving, I'm not exercising, or if you think exercising is walking to the mailbox, okay? Your lymphatic system goes, we're not moving. This is not moving. And it'll actually create a protein called fibrin, and it packs like yarn inside there, and it turns into jello. And when it turns to jello, you now have lymphatic cancer, okay? Because that acid just gets stuck like big blobs. So everybody here, you need to be exercising at least 2.5 hours a week. I mean, that's minimum. 2.5 hours a week. Do something. If you want to know something, talk to me later. I'll be your coach. But I'm just saying, you have to exercise. And if you're in a wheelchair, get one of those wheelchairs and make sure you're rocking forward. Rock. So you have some joint on your body that's moving every day, because you gotta move that lymphatic fluid out. And if you're immobile, I've got lymphatic fluid on my skin. I can rub this fluid. I got to get it out of my body. Move it, because it's got to move. That's the acid that's taking the sewer system out. So when I'm talking about damage to the mucosa, this is the lining of your cells and the lining of your stomach. So your whole body has this mucosa. You don't want to have this. This water in these tests have helped to block these, to strengthen the mucosa level. Cells activated due to activated oxygen, okay? Now, relationship between alkaline ionized water and ORP. ORP is oxidation reduction potential. Say it backwards. What's the potential to reduce oxidation? So oxidation is when my body's being eaten by electrons, right? I mean by protons, is pulling electrons off my body. So the potential, the higher the negative charge, the higher the positive charge. The higher the positive charge, the more I'm losing. The higher the negative charge, the stronger I'm getting. Okay, so the ORP, it's a relationship between the higher the pH, the stronger the ORP, just adding electrons to your body. Okay. Okay, peroxized lipids, that's fat. We'll just touch on this for a second. Lipids and blood serums. It is the process in which free radicals steal electrons from lipids in the cell membranes, resulting in cell damage. So it's the same thing. It goes inside your mucus, it goes inside your cells, and it takes inside the cell and outside the cell. It starts taking these little cell fat modules away from your skin, and that's part of your immune system. Your immune system runs on electricity, right? Water, this water is adding voltage. You have to have a voltage to make sure your body stays healthy, because your immune system is what's going to keep you healthy, and that's what we're going to get through here. Okay, now, once again, tumor necrosis factor. What's that mean? Chronic dosage of alkaline ionized water is a medical treatment against tumor necrosis factor, TNF. Okay? Now, tumor necrosis factor is one of the most important cytokines involved in rheumatoid arthritis through its entanglement in the cascade of inflammatory reactions. So here, it's kind of hard to see, but I've got these knuckles look like big balls on the end here. Okay? And cytokines are any number of small proteins that are secreted by specific cells in the immune system, okay? So once again, drinking this water is doing more for your body than you ever have heard of before, thought of, all right? More independent studies. I'm going to get through these pretty quick, kid. Gestational, lactational rats. So I got reproductive and gestational, lactational. Quality and enzyme activity on fermented soybeans in tofu production. So anything they tested, food, vegetables, rats, animals, it's having the same effect. You put a positive, you put an alkaline charge, high alkaline charge with a high negative voltage, you're going to get reaction in your body, in the plants you're eating, and in all the foods that you're eating, and all the animals that are taking it. Okay. Okay, predisposition to diabetes. Now this is type 2 versus type 1. Okay? We distinguish 2 types of diabetes, type 1 and type 2. When it comes to diabetes in children, primarily we talk about type 1. which usually occurs before 30 years of age and may appear in early childhood. Diabetes 1 affects approximately 10% of all suffering. Type 1 diabetes is a disease for which there is genetic predisposition, but it does not mean that the disease with this predisposition will necessarily occur. Genetic risk factors seriously increases the likelihood. Type 1 diabetes occurs as a consequence of collapse of pancreatic cells that lose the possibility of creating insulin, which allow the entry of glucose into the cells, which is sugar. If there is none, glucose is remaining in the blood rather than supply the cells with energy, and several types of systems of illnesses increases weight loss. They're thirsty, often went to bed, and are dehydrated. So they're doing studies with type 1 and type 2. And then here, high blood pressure, alkaline ionized water prevents the onset of hypertension and hypertensive effect. Inopril, which is a drug, Inopril is used alone or in combination with other medical medications to treat high blood pressure. It is also used in combination with other medications to treat heart failure. Okay? Now, here's something interesting. Regarding sensory evaluation, testing of green tea prepared with alkaline ionized water and eluted an amount of tea components by elution testing. Elution is the process of extracting a substance that is absorbed into another by washing it with a solvent. So when you take tea and put it in Kangen water, that pulls the green tea up, and green tea has actually got a negative charge. So all the people in Japan, who's the healthiest country in the world? Japanese. Number 2 is Hong Kong. What do they drink a lot more than we do? They're drinking tea. So it's elution is pulling the green tea extract out, and that's part of why they're healthier, because they don't have the Kangen water, all of them. I mean, people in Hong Kong may or may not have a machine, but they're getting that by this elution process with the green tea. Okay? On the growth, blood composition, and accumulation of body fat. So they had a huge result with blood pressure and lowering body fat. Okay, oxidative damage. Once again, oxidation, what's that? Something's pulling electrons off your body. Okay, so treatment-resistant atopic dermatitis with weakly acidic electronic water and alkaline ionized water. So she's drinking. So this is, have you ever seen lupus? They call it like butterfly on the top of your nose. Okay, you've seen that?
I haven't.
You haven't. So lupus and atopic dermatitis, those are diseases that your skin is out of balance. Okay? And so what they do in Japan, like you saw in the video, they spray the 2,5 water on their skin while they're drinking the 9,5 water, so it balances the inside, and the outside, once again, has the ability to pull the oxygen out of the bacteria and balance the pH on the skin. And it doesn't, you can put it right in your eye, spray it in your eye, it doesn't burn. So if you have styes in the eyes or you get fever blisters, spray it before you get it going, and it dissipates it. Yeah? 2.5 on the outside of your skin. Yeah, don't drink that. That's not to drink. If you have a stye in your eye, I was on stage here one night, months ago. I started getting that little, I thought my contact was going back because I couldn't see. Got off the stage. I had that little baby pink thing growing. I went home that night and just sprayed 2,5 on it all night. Next morning, it was gone. It was gone. Glaucoma is an inside your eye thing. This is more for the outside of your body. Yeah, Dave.
But definitely conjunctivitis or pink eye.
Yeah, pink eye and conjunctivitis. So the 2,5 is really wonderful for that. So it's a temporary thing, but it's a real quick fix if you've ever tried that. Okay. Okay. So once again, activated oxygen elimination, free radicals, effect of electronic reduced water and its influence on intracellular signaling. Intracellular, each signal's talking to each other. Hello, hello, hello. They're all talking at the same time. This water is making the communication work better. Okay. Once again, onset hypertension in salt-sensitive rats, autoimmune disease, and once again, reduced water scavenges active oxygen species and protect DNA from oxidative damage. Now, Kayla, internal flights for a second. You got to see this. Everybody knows what that DNA helix looks like, that spinning looking thing? Okay, so here's the double helix. See this? When oxidation comes in, this is an actual photo, it comes in and starts mutating, starts oxidizing the DNA, and this is when it starts to, it's like a big cancer growth on it. Your DNA is out to lunch. You're going to start growing things you're not supposed to grow, or things that are supposed to grow aren't growing. That's an incredible photo, but use the double helix. This is oxidative damage on the inside of your DNA, and this is on the outside of your DNA. So when this happens here, that can happen there. So oxidation inside your DNA and your RNA is a huge factor that drinking this water is something you can't be without. It's one of those necessary elements. Okay, that's enough for the lights, thanks. I just wanted you to see that. It's kind of an awesome picture there. Okay, then human culture cells. Now, once again, double-blind, placebo-controlled study, analysis of physiological functions using human cultured cells influences blood compounds. Here's a healthy blood cell, example of free radical damage of healthy blood cells damaged by free radicals. It comes in and actually just destroys, starts to eat the whole edge of the cell away, and once again, that goes in and destroys your DNA. So it's a double combination whammy. You don't want to have oxidation damage on your body, because every time you're breathing oxygen, we're using that. There's also the downside, which is it's going to take electrons someplace. So you want to make sure you're flooding your body with an extra source of electrons from this water, trying to bring it back to make it make sense. Okay, okay, I'm going to go through that. Okay, now pull up page, your 15-page handout. We're going to go through some of these studies. We're going to go through, I think, 12 of the 35. Okay, for those who weren't here today, the website's right there. So when they get this, they can actually go download it themselves. Okay, now turn to page 2, if you would, in the book. And here's another picture of that, the DNA being damaged by free radicals. So go to the 15-page study. It looks like this. Here it is. Okay, so it starts like this. It's got the little green thing at the top. Okay, so that's the 15-page study. And then yours is black and white? Okay, we might have run out of color ink. And then go to page 2. You see page 2 on the bottom of your V? Okay. So we're gonna hit some of these. We're gonna miss some of these, but So here's what I want you to do. I want you to take these studies home, 3-hole punch them, and stick them in something. Okay, so you have them, but taking this home and saying, I went to class, that's not gonna put you where you want to be. So these studies, plus I showed you this website. This has got a lot more. If you'll publish these, because this is actually like 34 pages. This website's 34 pages. This one I just gave you is 15 pages. That's a lot of pages of studies. But I'm going to go through and touch on some of these so you can start getting the hang of some of these studies, because your doctors are going to want certain studies in a certain way. And the next thing they're going to say is, I want these from the United States. The United States doesn't do studies on anything but drugs. So these aren't drugs, so we're not going to get USA studies, which is why the studies come from Switzerland, which is why they come from China, they come from Japan, they come from Taiwan, they come from every place except the United States, because they don't want this to have an efficacy that's accepted. Okay, so they run the show. Okay, so the first study says electrolyzed reduced alkaline water scavenges active oxygen species and protects DNA from oxidative damage. That is huge. If you can protect DNA oxidative damage, who thinks that's a pretty big deal? Okay, that's a big deal. This is a study that goes through, and I'm just going to touch on, but you can have the copy there. Active oxygen species, when do you see that? AOS is abbreviated for free radicals, are considered to cause extensive oxidative damage to biological macromolecules, which brings about a variety of diseases as well as aging. Okay, so this little double helix, that's the code, and you have it in every single cell. That little code guy, he's what allows things to enter your cells or not. So when you're trying to drink bulk water, which has 24 molecules in a cluster, the cell DNA has like a shield, and when it's trying to come through, it says, who are you? It says, I'm water. It says, you don't look like water, you look like a Twinkie. You're not coming in the cell, so it protects your cells from invading things. That's what the DNA, it's like a code of all the good things you're supposed to have, and if it's not on the good list, it's not supposed to come in your body, unless it mutates like this, and it starts turning into things you don't want it to have happen. That's where cancer starts, okay? Oxidative damage to the DNA, okay? This protects it according to this study, okay? The ideal scavenger for active oxygen should be active hydrogen. Now stick with me. Active hydrogen can be produced in reduced water near the cathode during the electrolysis water. Reduced water exhibits high pH, low dissolved oxygen, DO is dissolved oxygen, extremely high dissolved molecular hydrogen, DH, dissolved hydrogen, and extremely negative redox potential, or ORP values. So this is the combination of chemical reactions that take place inside of our machine that when you put it in your body, it's going to protect your DNA. Okay? So I've got high pH. What is 9.5? High, right? As compared to 7, which is neutral. Low dissolved oxygen. Okay, that's because I got high pH. Extremely high dissolved molecular hydrogen. Now I'm also going to break this down. Molecular hydrogen and atomic hydrogen are two different things, and I'm going to break that down because you got to know that we're not drinking hydrogen. We're taking the atom, we're breaking the hydrogen atom up. But I jumped in front of myself here. Okay. Strongly electrolyzed reduced water, as well as ascorbic acid, which has a positive charge. Catechin and tannic acid completely scavenged O2 minus. Okay, now DNA modifications such as oxidative damage have been implicated in the development of a variety of cancers, including colon, breast, prostate. Mutations can ultimately lead to decreased DNA repair and increased susceptibility to cancer. So once you get your DNA going, you're pretty much losing the inside of the protection of the kingdom, because the DNA is everything about every cell that runs your body. Okay. Recently oxidative RNA damage has been described in conjunction with a wide variety of neurological diseases, including Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, dementia, and Lewy bodies. What's the difference between DNA, a polymer, and RNA? DNA enzyme requires RNA primer in order to replicate, whereas RNA doesn't need DNA to replicate. So DNA needs RNA, RNA doesn't need DNA. So once RNA is damaged, it can go haywire wherever it wants to go. So drink as much water as you can to protect that your DNA. Now, superoxide dismutase, which is SOD, now this is a word here, superoxide dismutase-like activity of reduced water. Okay, so they're saying reduced water acts like superoxide dismutase. So let's talk about what those are, because our water does the same thing that this superoxide dismutase does. Like activity of reduced water is stable at 4 degrees centigrade, 39 degrees Fahrenheit, for over a month. So if you keep your water at 39.2 for over a month and was not lost even after neutralization, repeated freezing, melting, deflation with sonication, vigorous mixing, boiling, repeated filtration, or closed autoclaving. Now, who thinks that's pretty strong? Take a gun, blow it up, it's going to stay. Okay? That's nuclear. This is tested. Now, this is in a lab. They're testing, they're trying everything they can. Now, let's talk, what is superoxide dismutase, because our water does the same thing this does, and what's autoclaving? Let's talk about this. But it was lost by opened autoclaving or by closed autoclaving in the presence of tungsten trioxide, which I don't have any on hand, which efficiently absorbs active atomic hydrogen. Atomic hydrogen. Let's get there. Superoxide dismutase is an enzyme that removes the superoxide O2 free radical active oxygen. Okay? So superoxide dismutase is an enzyme that removes the free radical, and autoclave is a device that sterilizes equipment and supplies by subjecting them to high pressure saturated steam. So you put something in here and you pressurize it and you steam it, and it kills everything that lives. Okay? It's saying our water does the same thing that this autoclave machine does. Is that awesome? Okay? So that's why I wanted to show you the first study on that chart. Keep that one handy. All right? Now, the antioxidant activity of reduced water is due to the dissolved atomic hydrogen, not molecular, atomic. So stick with me. And I know I love the chemistry side of this, but I want you guys to stick with me, because people, as soon as I start talking about a little chemistry, their eyes fog out and they go to sleep. Okay? Water bubbled with hydrogen gas exhibited low DO. Now, what's DO? Let's get back to this. Remember this word here? We had DO, which is dissolved oxygen. Okay? Okay, so water bubbled with hydrogen gas exhibited low dissolved oxygen, extremely high dissolved hydrogen, and extremely low ORP values, as does reduced water. But it has no superoxide dismutase SOD-like activity. Okay? So it's a different reaction. Wish you could see that. That's the helix here. Now, these results suggest that the SOD-like activity, once again, of reduced water is not due to the dissolved molecular hydrogen, but due to the dissolved atomic hydrogen, active hydrogen. Okay? Yes?
SOD is the strongest antioxidant known, and you can't take it
Isn't that cool? So SOD is the strongest antioxidant we can take, but your body can't take it, but you can take our water because it's got the same result without having a detrimental effect. Okay, now, although SOD accumulated H2O2, which is hydrogen peroxide, so H2O is what? Water. We add an extra oxygen and we now have hydrogen peroxide, right? H2O2. When added to, now this is a real wonderful word here, I'm just going to call it oxygen-free radicals, okay? HXXOD, oxygen-free radical generating system. Reduced water decrease the amount of H2O2 produced by the XOD. Stay here. Reduced water as well as catalase and ascorbic acid could directly scavenge H2O2. Reduced water suppresses single-strand breakage of DNA. There it is. Reduced water suppresses single-strand breakage of DNA. Okay? Now this is a picture of a broken DNA strand. Kelly, can you pop the lights for 1 second? I want you to see this. We're going to go, I got a little glossary in here so you can, so here's a broken strand of DNA. Okay? So our water decreases the amount, it suppresses single-strand breakage of DNA. So we're strengthening these DNA strands, which is the code to how our life works on this planet, in our bodies, okay? Now, okay, so you can turn it back. I just wanted them to see that DNA strand with a broken single strand because it's got a double helix on there, okay? Now, reduced water can scavenge not only O2 and H2O, but also 1O2 and HO. Now, let's talk about this. So, HXOD is oxygen-free radical generating system. So, this copper components are often encountered as salts of Cu plus 2, okay? And then hydrogen peroxide, H2O2, active oxygen, 1O2 and O2 minus, once again. And then hydrogen is a name for diatomic anion, OH, or hydroxyl. You all know what OH, right? Because our machine takes H2O and puts H over here and OH over here. So instead of H2O, it's H1O. They don't call it H1, they call it hydroxyl. I have one oxygen, one hydrogen, and an extra electron. Okay? And so when you drink that, I've changed the ratio of hydrogen to oxygen in water. What's that done to my body? I've now increased the electrons, I've at least increased the oxygen content going in. Okay? And so just by drinking this water, you can do some amazing things, whether you know it or not. But chemically, this is the soup that's going on. Okay, so vitamin C or ascorbic acid also has the same effect here, doing that. Okay? And vitamin C, once again, has a negative charge. Vitamin C has a negative 50. Green tea has a negative 80. Our water has a negative 850. So this water is 850, whereas ascorbic acid is a minus 50. Yeah, Tom.
We talked in the past about the microwave breaking down the DNA and causing cancer. Is that similar, maybe?
Well, it's exactly the same thing because microwaves, they're reversing the polarity of your cells billions of times in a minute, and it's just destroying the strength of your muscle cells. That's why it heats something up, which is why we don't recommend microwaves. But it's having a similar effect, whereas when you have a free radical, it's going in and doing electron removal. It's having an extraction process, whereas microwave is destroying it from the inside out billions of times as it changes the oscillation pattern. Okay, atomic hydrogen. So let's talk about this. Now, kcal per mole is the quotient of a kilocalorie or 1,000 thermochemical gram calorie. That's what a kcal is. Okay, so it says molecular hydration. Ordinary hydrogen gas consists of diatomic molecules, di means two, okay, in which two H atoms unite together by covalent bond. This is known as molecular hydrogen. So I've got hydrogen and hydrogen hanging on to each other, two hydrogen atoms, okay? Now, stability of molecular hydrogen. HH bond energy is very high. I got 104 kcal per mole, which is up here, okay? That's the kilocalorie. Due to high bond energy, molecule of hydrogen is very stable. It does not react under ordinary conditions. Only those reactions are possible in which at least 104 kcal per mole of energy is available to break the hydrogen apart. So atomic hydrogen obtained by dissociation with molecular hydrogen is called atomic hydrogen. Atomic hydrogen is very energetic, very reactive. It's a very short life and spontaneously combine to form molecular hydrogen. So once I break them apart, they can become an atomic molecule again because they come back together. So each hydrogen, they're hanging on. So I now have a molecule again. So what I'm doing is I'm breaking the atoms of hydrogen apart, keeping them separate. One's going to the anode, one's going to the cathode, one's going out my acid water, one's coming out my top water, my alkaline water hose. Okay? So I'm doing it on the atomic level. Okay, so just stay with me. So here, when molecular hydrogen is heated at 5,000 degrees centigrade, who thinks that's pretty hot? Okay, 5,000 degrees, your house would burn down. It disassociates into atomic hydrogen. So molecular hydrogen disassociates at 5,000 degrees into atomic hydrogen, which means I have H2. H2 means I get 2 atoms of hydrogen. Now if I had H2O, that would be what? Water. But H2 is molecular hydrogen. When I disassociate it, I have 2H. I still have 2 hydrogen, but they're not H2. They're now independent. They can go their own ways. I can do what I want to do. You can do what you want to do. These two, until I hit 5,000 degrees centigrade, they're going to be stuck together. Unless I put it in my machine. By electric discharge at 0.1 millimeters of pounds to 1 millimeter of mercury pressure, I can turn H2 into 2H by putting it through my machine. Does my machine hit 5,000 degrees? No. Does it use 110 volt? Yep. So my machine, I plug it in point, and what happens is I'm taking the same process of turning H2 into 2H by taking and putting it through my machine, and now I've changed the factor from molecular hydrogen to atomic hydrogen, and now I'm separating it so they're independent, so now one can do one thing, one can do another. Does that make sense to you guys? Does it make sense to understand what atomic hydrogen in our machine, you have an atomic reactor in your kitchen. It's not going to blow up, but it's separating the same thing as 5,000 degrees centigrade inside your kitchen by pushing a button. Who's surprised it costs $4 grand? Not me. Titanium and platinum, it separates hydrogen into the atomic structure in your kitchen. That's pretty cool. So the reaction of atomic hydrogen, being very energetic, atomic hydrogen reacts with different substances under ordinary conditions. With oxygen, H2 plus O2 turns into H2O2, which is hydrogen peroxide. Okay, so you know that formula. So you can see these guys are like building puzzles that go together. So you can see different chemicals are made by adding or subtracting a hydrogen molecule or an oxygen atom to it. Okay, here's our friend again, superoxide dismutase. Since cancer cells produce more oxidants than normal cells, they can basically oxidize themselves to death. That is why SOD is a target protein. If SOD is inhibited in the cancer cells are damage controlling their growth. So they actually eat themselves. So by drinking this water, you're going to put these cancer cells to attack themselves because the hydrogen, the atomic hydrogen, is now attacking it on the other way. It's adding the electron to. So cancer can't live in an oxygen environment, right? If I have oxygen, cancer runs away. Oh no, it's sunlight. It's like the vampire. You put sunlight on the vampire, it dies. You put oxygen on cancer, it dies. It has to have an anaerobic. Can't have any oxygen, and it has to be full of acid and no oxygen. So what we're doing is we're putting sunlight on the vampire. We're putting oxygen on it by drinking the water, and so the cancer cells actually end up killing themselves, which is better than chemo and radiation. Why? Because chemo and radiation, not only killing the cancer cells, they're killing all the healthy cells around it. The healthy cells are the only thing your immune system has to kill cancer. So if you kill the good guys with the bad guys, what are you doing? What are you fighting with? I got nothing. Come on, let's fight. You got nothing, okay? So you've got to make sure your friends are putting it. Now, we've had people take chemo radiation with this water, and they come out in remission. Is that a guarantee? No. Does it cure it? No. The water, your body heals itself. Everybody has a different body. But I've seen it happen many, many, many times. Stage 4 cancers. Dr. Wong had the same stage 4 situation. Dr. Lee had the same situation with his wife. So we've got lots of people you can talk to in this room when this meeting's over of specifics that happened to them. And I'm just proud to have them in my life, okay? Health benefits. I'm going to go through this one here. Now, catechin, this is the extract that comes out of tea, by the way, okay? So this same thing is the catechins scavenge oxidants before cell damage occurred, reduced the number of size of tumors, and inhibited the growth of cancer cells. So that's why when they're drinking green tea, the catechins are what's doing it. It's an antioxidant going in the body. Okay. Use of ionized water. This is page 4, next study, okay? Too many fats in the diet, which lead to the deposition of cholesterol on the blood vessels, which in turn constrict the blood flow, cause most illness such as high blood pressure, in accordance with this professor, okay? Now, with a consumption of alkaline oxidant water for a period of 2 to 3 months, the blood pressure slowly drops due to the water's solvent ability, which dissolves the cholesterol in the blood vessel. Remember that picture I showed you, the little clump of fat, the uric acid with the fat around it? It dissolves that fat. It dissolves the acid simultaneously. And so this study on page 4, this is for the people that want to understand about gout or any acid or fatty acid buildup or cholesterol levels. What about my cholesterol? Read this study, okay? Or you understand what's in that study so you can talk about it without having to show them a chart. And once again, this is blood, this is cholesterol in your fat. As the cholesterol starts to build, it starts to block, and of course that's where you don't want to go in your arteries, because that's the big one. Okay, you're going down. Okay, this is page 4, another study, gynecological conditions. Ionized water provides, improves body constituents and ensures effective healing to many illnesses. In gynecological patients have proved to be very effective. It can neutralize toxins. It can neutralize toxins. This is their test results. How many toxins do we have in our body? Thousands. How do you neutralize them? Drinking this water. Now, the medicine, they have medicine that does that, but this does it for everybody, not just one specific person with the medicine. Okay? So, when given antioxidant water to pre-eclamptic toxemia cases, this is a syndrome that develops after the 20th week of pregnancy. It is characterized by persistent high blood pressure, edema or swelling of the feet and ankles. So when you have feet and ankle swelling, that's generally a sign called edema that you have a sodium deficiency. Your body's hanging onto water because inside your blood you have potassium inside the cell, you have sodium outside the cell. If you're drinking a lot of water all day, I'm just drinking this water like crazy, I'm flushing the sodium out of my body, right? So unless you're taking, like Gayla and I every morning wake up, we take sea salt and grind it and lick sea salt off our hand every morning as we're drinking the water to add the sodium back in so my body can let go of the extra water. Without sodium, it's going to hang onto the water. I'm going to balloon up. I'm going to get fat ankles. I'm going to get fat fingers. And by adding sea salt, not table salt, that's different. Sea salt, grind it, drink it with your water. You're going to add sodium ratio back in. And so that's what we do. Plus, we also usually have an avocado every day, which has lots of potassium. So we're getting potassium and sodium ratio. Make sure that our bodies are getting both of those. Now, why is that important? In your blood, you have blood pressure, right? Everybody's blood pressure. And people say, well, your doctor says, take y'all salt because your blood pressure is getting too high. That's because you don't have enough sodium in it with potassium ratio. Let's say my cell here is inside my cell, I've got 100 pounds of pressure per square inch. Outside my cell, I have 101 pounds of pressure per square inch. Okay? As long as I've got potassium on the inside and sodium on the outside, it's going to move the water into my cell and the acid's going to go out. If I run short of sodium, my body's going to pump my blood pressure up to 103, 105, 110, 120 to make sure it can run that water through my system and get the acid waste out. If I'm taking salt again, sodium, it doesn't need to artificially pump my blood pressure up to get my water through my system. It's going to allow the system to just naturally lower my blood pressure, which all these tests show, and let my body hydrate itself with the water coming in and the acid coming out. Okay? So that, yes. What's that? Well, it's not avocado sea salt. I take avocado separately. We just eat like a half one of those every lunch. But sea salt, the ratio is supposed to be 1/4 teaspoon per quart of water. So every quart of water, you should have just a little 1/4 teaspoon, and that's just a grind and a lick it, not much. Just so you're not flushing all the sodium out of your body. Okay? Per quart of water, yeah. This is a liter, so this is about, what, 2 quarts, David?
A liter is just a drop over 1 quart.
Okay, so this side, so this is a liter. So for every one of these, so like a 1/4 tablespoon of sea salt. Teaspoon, not tablespoon, teaspoon, yeah. Okay? Okay. Okay, so pre-eclamptic. So here we go. The results are most significant. During this guy, his long years of service, he found that women with pre-eclamptic toxemia who consumed antioxidant water tend to deliver healthier babies with stronger muscles. Is that a good result? I've got 2 daughters I've had 4 grandkids. All of them are Enagic Kangen water babies. All of them perfect, came out. And by the way, when you do those amniotic fluid tests, have you seen those tests with babies inside the womb? For the mothers that are drinking Kangen water, the amniotic fluid is perfectly clear. Just not a thing in it. Just little babies are floating around. And you can see their eyebrows. It's all 4D now. You can see the little toes and fingers. It's just amazing. The mothers who aren't have gray, milky substance floating around. It's a whole different amniotic fluid. So, and we didn't do drug-dependent women, but just normal women on the American diet, their amniotic fluid's full of gray, floating debris versus Kangen water. And we've taken all of our kids in to see it. Hey, look, it's all clear. Perfect, you know? Okay. And last but not least, the group showed above average intelligence for the children, all these babies that were Kangen water babies. So they're stronger, healthier, and smarter. That's pretty good result. So make sure everybody that's pregnant gets in this water, okay? Clinical improvements obtained from intake of reduced water, still page 4. Once again, here's a picture of gout. You can see a little better here. Declines in blood sugar levels in diabetic patients. Declines in blood sugar levels in diabetic patients. Improvements in peripheral circulation in diabetic gangrene. Gangrene is what they're going to cut the toes off, like they saw in the video. They're going to cut his legs off. This gets that circulation going again. Improvements in liver function. Examines in hepatic disorders that affect the liver. Okay. Improvements in gastroduodenal ulcers. Prevention of reoccurrences. That's lesions on the skin or a mucous membrane, such as one lining the stomach or the duodenum. That's accompanied by formation of pus and necrosis of surrounding tissue, usually resulting from inflammation, and improvements in hypertension and hypotension. Okay, so that's blood pressure that's either above normal or below normal. This balances that again. Who knew this machine did all these things, right? So we have all these doctors studying all these different things in their own little labs, coming up with the same results independently of each other. Okay, clinical improvements obtained from intake of reduced water continued. Now here's one. Allergic disorders such as asthma and hives, okay, skin rash, atopic dermatitis, rhinitis. And what happens is, here I've got in asthma, my whole little bronchioles closed. Just, I can't breathe. This water improved persistent, okay, so this water alleviated those symptoms of all these different things. So it went from that to that, kind of an amazing thing. Quicker improvement in postoperative bowel. And my wife was very allergic, redhead. She'd go outside by a golf course or cut grass, where she had those Claritins, and she'd get all kinds, in every car, every purse. Now she got running, nothing. Just 4 years on the water now, no allergies at all. She doesn't get wheezy, doesn't get all the watery eyes. And she always did. I mean, here comes the spring, man. She was like breaking out. It's like hiding her in a bubble. Now she goes out and enjoys it. So it's a wonderful thing to have your wife be able to enjoy all the seasons of the year by simply changing the water that she drinks. And so this confirms that. We've already talked about diarrhea several times. Beryllium levels in newborn babies was improved. They've observed changes in stools. Feces doesn't smell anymore. Okay, let's see, what else do we have in this? Oh, he'll talk about cooking. Based on clinical experience obtained in the past 15 years, it can be said that introduction of electrolyzed reduced water for drinking and cooking purposes for inpatients should be the very prerequisite in our daily medical practice. Any dietary recipe cannot be a scientific one if the property of the water taken by the patients is not taken into the consideration. So cooking is a prerequisite for health in this hospital for these people. That's kind of a huge thing. How many people here really haven't started cooking with the water yet? A lot of us are, a lot of us aren't. We have cookbooks, and Pierre, raise your hand. Say hello in French. So he has a cooking DVD. He's a Frenchman, but he does it in English, on how to cook with this water. And he's a genius. He's got a great DVD.
Recently, I was showing how to cook to all the team of the MGM Hotel in Las Vegas. And for about 20 minutes, they were asking me questions about how to clean and cook. And I cook on 11.5.
Cook in 11.5.
When you discard the water, when you drink the water, like a soup, you use the water you drink, 8.5 or 9.5. But it's very drastic to use 11.5. You reduce the cooking time up to 40%.
Reduce the cooking time by 40% by using 11.5?
Tenderness. For a couple of years, I did every Thursday cooking with Kangen, a gourmet French dinner with 5, 6, or 7 courses. And a lot of people, they went to my place, and they said, where you buy your vegetables and fruits? I said, oh, Costco, Trader Joe, anywhere. But I cook them in Kangen water 11.5. And at least they can pass the word and to improve what we, not only the test, but the benefits for health. Yeah.
Thank you, Pierre. I would buy anything just from the way he sounds, you know? It's like, okay, I will take that car from you. You know? Just sounds so cool, you know? It's just great. But he's a great chef, and he and Tony and I have been friends for a long time. And it's just nice we're still in business and family together here. And Pierre, you did a great job for lots of people here. But cooking is a big piece of it. And talk to Pierre afterwards if you want to find out more about that. Okay, it's almost 4 o'clock. I'm going to sort of zip through a lot of these. But here's a guy that he was 35-year-old patient, vascular heart disease for 5 years with sickness deteriorating. Okay, he's in the hospital. He's had all these different exams. He had angiogram by injections. He underwent major surgical operations. Each time his illness relapsed, he attacks even more severe. Then this report says last year his relatives were in despair. They expected he would not live much longer. So it happened at the time that the victim's relative came across antioxidant water processor. His illness responded well, and he's now in the road to recovery. So this guy's tried operations, surgeries, angiograms. He tried the water without drugs, and what happened? His body healed itself. Your body knows how to do it. If your body didn't know how to heal itself, every time you cut yourself, you'd drop dead. You'd bleed to death, and it wouldn't stop. So the fact that your body stops bleeding, it knows how to heal itself the same way. Okay? So, and right now in the United States, we have over 2 million deaths occur each year from the same thing. And they just say, go home, sorry, you're going to die. And they don't even try the water. It's not even an option. Not on the menu. Okay? Eczema. Now, once again, here's a guy that had eczema on his legs. Patient suffered 10 years for eczema, could not be cured effectively even under specialist treatment. He was 70 years of age. The president of a vehicle parts company, after the war, his lower limbs suffered acute eczema. He later became chronic. He was repeatedly treated in specialist skin hospital. He suffered severe itchiness, which when scratched led to bleeding. During the last 10 years, he was seen and treated by many doctors. When he first examined, his lower limbs around the joints was covered with vessels. Weeping occurred owing to serum excreted from the vessels. He said, try consuming antioxidant water. He bought a unit, consumed the, now listen, here it says he bought a unit, didn't say he tried it for a year. He bought a unit and drank the water because his doctor said buy a unit. Because in Japan, this is a medical device. Buy this, okay? Consume the antioxidant water religiously and use the acidic water to bathe the affected area. So acid on the outside. And after 2 weeks of treatment, the vesicles dried up. Eczema was completely cleared without any relapse after 1.5 months. So he's got years, 10 years, and in 1.5 months, it's gone. Is that absurd? It's amazing. But yet, this is fraud. It's alternative medicine, consumer fraud. Just look on the internet, okay? Allergies, once again. This guy, let's see, I'll jump. Calcium solution injected. Antioxidant water was ironic calcium. It alleviated his allergies. I'm gonna go through this because I'm gonna get through them pretty quick. Digestive problems, I think we've covered that subject. Diabetes, when I was serving in the Fire Insurance Association, I used to examine many diabetic patients. Besides treating them with drugs, I provided them with antioxidant water. So he's doing them both here. After drinking antioxidant water for 1 month, 15 diabetic patients were selected and sent to Tokyo University for further tests. Initially, the more serious patients were a bit apprehensive about the treatment. Who's had people nervous about drinking the water? Who've had doctors say, stop drinking the water? I've had patients, my doctor said, get off that. Okay? So why are they apprehensive? Because that's who they're being raised by. When the antioxidant water was consumed, for some time, the sugar in the blood and urine ranged from a ratio of 300 to 1.2. There was a time when the patient had undergone 5 to 6 blood tests a day and detected to be within normal range. Results also showed that even 1.5 hours after meals, the blood sugar and urine ratio was 100 to 0. The sugar in the urine had completely disappeared. This is amazing stuff. This is like, this can't be done with drugs. They work for years. What do you think someone spent in 10 years of drug treatment trying to solve something that can be done in 2 or 3 weeks? $1 million, easily. The insurance companies, okay? So we have 800,000 new cases of diabetes a year right now. Okay, it's up to 16 million Americans, so it's going and going. Acidosis, okay? Acidosis means anything that's too much acid in your body, okay? So once again, what was the signal? 1 out of 5 males and 1 out of 4 females are obese. I love that picture. I'm not sure where that guy is, but he's in such pain. He doesn't have any. This guy has no clue why he's like that. He has no clue. Not a clue in the world. Nothing. Because education is a major part of obesity. People have no idea. They're watching TV saying Cocoa Puffs and Cheerios and Dunkin' Donuts and everything that's advertised. It's got a stamp or a seal or an approval, or it says fortified with vitamin A, fortified with D vitamin. Good for your immune system. That does nothing except trick you into buying something that's killing you. And that's exactly what our nation's looking like. That's the future of America right there, if we keep doing what we're doing, all right? The degree of burnout in food intake largely depends on the amount of intake of vitamins and minerals. When excessive intake of proteins, carbohydrates, and fats occurs, the requirement for vitamins and minerals increases, okay? However, there's not much research. So what happens if I can drink more water that have vitamins and minerals in it? My carbohydrate, protein, mineral is neutralized by having vitamins and minerals in my body. That's why I take a nutrient supplement every day, and that's why I take Kangen water all the time. It's adding everything my body needs to make strong, healthy cells. Okay, I'm going to get through here. ROS, that's free radical damage. Once again, diabetes, cancer, and aging. Okay, several natural waters such as Hita, they talk about different Japanese, deep underground. Now, these are waters in Nordernau, Germany, Teucote, Mexico, and here we have Lourdes, France. Those waters naturally coming out of the ground do the same thing this water does. We don't live in Lourdes, France. We don't live in Teucote, Mexico. We don't live in Nordernau, Germany. Okay, so this guy did the studies of these waters and found out our machine does the same thing that these waters do, and they're called miracle waters around the world. Google them. It's really amazing, and you can see people lined up with the nozzles at Lourdes, France, lined up getting bottles of water. They have hundreds of nozzles there because it's been going over a magnetic rock for millions of years, coming out of the ground in microclustered hexagonal fashion. But the ORP goes in 3 days, just like our water does. Okay. Okay, suppression, cancer cells, mice, go through that. Placebo-controlled double-blind studies. Let's do this. I'm going to go all the way to the end. Let's go here. I'm going to pop through here. Okay, here's some. In the overall study of placebos in our water, okay, here's the group that took alkaline water. Keep wanting to say the word. Okay, they had 2 cases that outstanding improvement, 2.5. 26 had fair, 32%. 36, 44% had slight improvement. 13 had no change, and 4 cases had it was worse. Okay, placebo, 5.2 had great improvement. 24, 35, 2.6. So we had the charts here off the chart all across the board. All the people in the test group had way better results than the people taking placebo water. So it wasn't psychosomatic. Okay. Now, once again, here's one more test. Nope. This one shows a map. The cases of cancer have gone up in states that the water has got soft. So when people are drinking soft water with no minerals in it, they're mineralizing the water out, the cases of cancer have gone up. And so this shows, here's the water in grains. The yellow is the hard water, is the soft water. So yellow is soft, and then dark green is very hard water, dark purple is very hard water. So you can see we happen to be fortunate enough to have enough minerals in our water. If you take it through our machine, it's ionizing it. And ionizing means it's taking the minerals inside the hexagonal cluster and bringing it in. So it's delivering the minerals inside of our bodies because we have it. Now, some states don't have enough iron in the water. It's not hard enough. And so that's why the machine has that little test tube thing on the top. Take the little nozzle out. You can put a calcium plug in there to add more minerals for the states that don't have enough minerals in their water. Because you cannot ionize water that's reverse osmosis. It has to have minerals in the water. All right? Okay, so once again, this talks about minerals going to the water. This is your kidney. I'm going to go here. Now, who knows what hemodialysis is? Dialysis says your blood is allowed to flow a few ounces at a time. So what happens here in dialysis, it means your body has to be hooked up to a machine 3 times a week. and they hook it to your arm, and they remove the blood, and what it does, a few ounces at a time is removed through a special filter that removes waste and extra fluids. The clean blood is then returned to your body. Removing the harmful waste and extra salt and fluids help control your blood pressure and keep the proper balance of chemicals like potassium and sodium in your body. Most patients go to a clinic, a dialysis center, 3 times a week for 3 or 4 or 5 more hours for each visit. Can you imagine your life being hooked up to a machine 3 times a week for 5 hours a day to have the waste removed from your body? So what's this have to do with this water? That's a good question. They found out, whoops, this study right here says people with hemodialysis, oxidative stress in the end stage, patients by electrolytes reduced water, had a dramatic improvement. Now we've had hemodialysis increase oxidative stress, hemodialysis reduce the plasma scavenging ability, electrolyzed reduced water diminished inflammatory markers, and partly restored total antioxidant status during 1 month of treatment. So 1 month of treatment, these people who were hooked up had a huge improvement in the waste cleaning in their body. We've actually had people that were scheduled to go on dialysis like next month. We put them on the water, they didn't ever have to go. It completely did the renal change in their kidney dramatically. So here's that study. That's why I gave you the whole study here. But I'm going to end up by saying this. You think there's enough studies? Okay, almost to boredom, isn't it? Okay. Can you memorize them all? No. Can you find them if you need them? Can you punch holes in your handouts and save them? Okay? Okay? Now, I also want you to go and print that other 34 pages out and punch holes in that, because I want you to have a book. So when you're going to talk to your doctor friend, you have enough ammunition to walk in and study it. Don't just go, hey, here's one for cancer. Okay? Go read them, and I have mine outlined in yellow so I understand what they're in there. Okay. Now, do you really think your doctor wants to study them or just get rid of you? What's the truth? He wants to get rid of you. So he used the, do you have any double-blind studies to boot you out there? He knows they don't have them because it's not a drug. You don't know it, so you're doing, let me get some. Okay? So how do you talk to your doctor? Now, everybody turn to your last page in your little pamphlet here. And then we're going to be done. Your last page says this. Doctor says, do you have any clinical studies? And you say, yes, we do. What specific area are you interested in? He's going to say, I want double-blind studies for diabetes, or on cancer, or on gout, or something. He'll pick a subject, okay? And you're going to say, well, as you know, double-blind studies are designed for testing of drugs for safety and efficacy. Say efficacy. Efficacy is not efficiency, it's efficacy, okay? That means, is this medicine or is this thing working? That's the medical term for it's working. So you have to say efficacy properly, okay? As you know, double-blind studies are designed for testing in drugs and safety and efficacy and to reproduce smaller studies with larger sampling of patients. And he says, I'm aware of that. So although Kangen water isn't a drug or a medicine, there are many clinical studies proving the efficacy and safety in both animals and human studies that have taken place over the past 37 years. Now, is that true? Yes. Yeah, so you're not saying anything that's not true. Since the official establishment of the Alkaline Ionized Water Review Committee, the Water Symposium Foundation, investigations and research from established universities, hospitals, scientists, and clinics have been able to have their results validated around the world based on double-blind experimental studies. And because of that, we're able to offer improved health to private individuals through micro-clustered alkaline Kangen water. Oops, I said the word. Okay. Enagic, I said the word again, supplies dozens of hospitals and thousands of restaurants with industrial-sized alkaline water ionizers. Now, did you know our company makes machines that are huge for the whole hospitals? Huge. They start at $34,000. We can't get them here. Different division, not even part of this company, but the same company corporately owns it. They start at $34,000. I wanted to sell those because I knew I could sell them. What's that? Yeah, commission is zero. We can't sell them, okay? So hospitals and industrial, those big institutions, that's where they started. And then Hironori Oshiro saw people at the hospitals waiting in line with plastic buckets like you do at the Enagic office, like they do at your front door. He said, what are the people waiting for water for? And they said, well, this is like miracle water. He found out, he bought the company and shrunk the machine. So now we have little machines And that's the only one we can get our hands on, not the big machines, okay? So don't ask, don't ask, don't ask. I've tried 100 times to get them, and the answer is no, we can't get them, okay? But I want you to know that our company supplies hospitals with alkaline, industrial-sized alkaline water, and the personal-sized Kangen water machines are also used in millions of homes worldwide to transform tap into pure, healthy, alkaline drinking water. We are so established, I shouldn't say the word pure, should I? We are established now that we are ISO certified, International Standardized Organization. That's the company that verifies Boeing. All their parts are certified that they're not going to blow up in the air. Same company verifies that we're a medical device, ISO certified, and are endorsed by many top cardiovascular and colon surgeons in the world, and have established ourselves as a leading provider of continuous water ionizers in the world. Would you like to try and test the water efficacy for yourself? So what's the bottom line with the doctor?
Sound professional.
Sound professional, know what you're talking about, but get them to drink the water. Because without drinking the water, it's a theory. This doesn't work in theory, this works in practice. It works in your body, it works in the molecular structure, it works on the cellular level. And you have all these tests for them. You're going to actually have like 45 pages of tests. You can go through and highlight the ones you want to see. But that's not going to do it for them until they drink the water. And one of their patients drinking the water gets well, that's when they start paying attention. Okay? You guys, I appreciate you coming here. We're a little bit late, but thanks for coming. We're going to do a drawing, but everybody, thank you. We're going to end this DVD. Thank you, Jeff, for the DVD. Appreciate it. Woo-hoo. See you guys later. See you next month.